Hey there everyone, Phantasma Knight here. Didn't feel like playing anything today, so we're just gonna sit here and chat. Hmm, looking at my virtual avatar, one of these days I figure out to get a position just right. Try to recalibrate a couple times actually. Maybe it's because my camera isn't directly in the middle. It's more to the side of my main screen, but still it's, it's not between the two screens. You know what? Let's adjust it one more time. And I don't think there's any point in trying to hide this from y'all. Y'all can see it pretty well. Let's see. Hopefully that's good. Now my slightly tilted to the side. One more time, shall we? And unless it's really bad, I think I'm gonna stop messing with it at this point. Yeah, my head doesn't go straight back when I bend my head back. So didn't actually prepare a script. I had a couple ideas of things I was gonna talk about, but I never actually finished writing up the list of things. Didn't really completely think it over. Yesterday wasn't the best day, and I guess I'm gonna split over to today. Yesterday was, yeah, less than ideal. Work didn't feel too bad, just was distracted. Not too unusual. But I came home and I was just feeling like don't want to exaggerate, but I kind of feel like I was dying. Not just like dead, not just I want to lie down and don't want to do anything, just like I don't know, life just didn't feel great for a reason. Apparently when I'm not feeling well, I like getting greasy salty foods like In-N-Out burgers and french fries, and today I decided to get some pizza. Or some pizza, and then on my way home from work, I decided to pick it up. Around 5 in the evening, though, traffic gets a little bit annoying. 4 or 5, potentially even before that. But it was past 5 by the time I got home. Right now, the time of deck is 6:06. As usual, I start a couple minutes late. Hopefully that doesn't offend anyone. If I ever do get bigger, I suppose it would give people more time to show up to streams if the streamer's always late. Although I still think it's not a good idea to get in the habit of showing up late. Still, it's just a few minutes, so maybe I shouldn't worry too much. More than that, I probably shouldn't talk about it so much on stream. The more you call attention to it, the more annoying it gets. Yeah, excuse my voice. Seems like I'm gonna be clearing my throat more today. I, to be perfectly honest, I did some yelling last night, and it's still kind of feeling in my throat. Things I gotta work on as a person and as a streamer. Oh, in case you're wondering, I decided to put on the Ender Lilies OST again, the original soundtrack. I've done this probably twice now. I don't know if I did it for another Just Chatting stream, but I know I definitely did for one of my writing streams. Still, I love the music. I'm a fan of Millie songs in general. Although, I had another Millie playlist, but that one was mostly vocal songs. I didn't go with that one. Figure it might get in the way a little bit. My enunciation's not the best in the world. So if anyone does show up, it would be nice if they could actually understand me. This game is wonderful, though. I know that Valkyria Chronicles and the Somnium Files I've been kind of slacking on. Keep taking opportunities to skip it, like today, for example. We even left on a cliffhanger last time on Somnium Files. But instead, I got caught up on some of my own thoughts. Someone asked a question, and I'm like, and I apparently, well, no, we were talking about something. I apparently gave a satisfactory answer, but then they actually like phrased the question in a way that made me think, no, wait, I haven't fully answered the question. So then I ended, well, I didn't. I unofficially ended the episode. I didn't actually stop the recording, and then I spent another 7 minutes, I guess, talking about it. Some of my thoughts on the matter. A bit of talking back and forth because that's what you do when you're thinking, or even talking to yourself, which is a form of thinking, in my opinion. Of course, it could be recitation, it could be practice for something, but in that case, it was half answering, half thinking to myself. Also, I said there's no lyrics, but there are some. I don't even know if this is a real language. But yeah, you can hear some vocals in the background. Still not as intrusive as full-on singing vocals, though. Implying this isn't full-on singing vocals. Well, it's not full-on, but it is vocals. Ah. Looking at the background here, I do like this background. It does remind me of one of the areas in Ender Lilies as well. Always like this fancy feel. I feel like maybe my outfit doesn't completely jive with it. Um, I picked the red because my avatar uses kind of maroon colored hair and might be kind of hard to notice, but there's a bit of a glint in my eyes, bit of a red glint. I was wondering maybe if I should have gone with one of the outfits. Like the outfit had a few variation. There was like a white version and a black version. Even the white version had some black parts on it though. But like the red part, it came in a bunch of different colors. And I'm wondering if I should have gone with something like violet. I always liked like how to describe this. Like darkness element stuff, like dark element stuff to not just be plain black, but like black with I guess purple accents, or like if you had to go with an after image effect, go with something either purple or violet. I think I prefer violet personally. So maybe I should have gone with something like that, something purple or violet. If it looks too pink, I'll go with the other one. Yeah, for some reason I picked red instead. Color coordination has been a little tricky for me. Especially you get to customize your outfit's colors. Like in Code Vein, for example, there's some heavy customization there. Sure, you only have the same like dozen or so outfits, and then you add or take away accessories. But the color scheme, I could never quite figure it out. I know in real life my outfits don't really have matching color schemes, you know? Like if I wear a blue shirt, I'm not going to make sure that there's some blue somewhere in my shorts or whatever. I just kind of throw stuff together, usually just t-shirt and shorts. But on a video game character, I feel like there needs to be more coordination. Like just because you wear a blue shirt doesn't mean that you need blue shorts. Like I don't particularly care for the jumpsuit look. Wow, I'm stuttering a lot. I'll talk more about that later. I know I'm always complaining about it. But with like color schemes, for example, I can't think of a good example. I might have to start up a code vein to actually like see a good example. But like, let's say I'm wearing a blue shirt and red pants. I feel like the other way around would work better, especially because I do wear jeans sometimes, often actually. But yeah, let's say red shirt, blue pants. I feel like there has to be something connects them, like maybe okay, so a lot of like video game and anime characters wear a lot of belts, right? Like not just like two belts on their waist or whatever, but also like extra belts like around their thigh, for example. So maybe let's go with like gold belts, for example. Gold belts around the waist, around the thighs, as straps up on the shoulders as well. Some kind of accent that ties it all together. Alternatively, have each piece have a bit of the other, kind of like the yin yang symbol, you know? You know how it's like a teardrop, or well, it's a Magatama symbol or Magatama shape. The Magatama, that's a whole nother concept, but that's Japanese, which might have been borrowed from Chinese philosophies. But half of it's white, half of it's black. But within each one is a dot of color of the other. So something like that. So if we're going with belts and straps, for example, something like red shirt with blue straps, or blue pants with red belts, something like that. Depending on how it looks, it might feel a little jarring, and I might go by feel and change it up. But I've never had the most artistic sense. There's like certain, I'm not sure if theories is the right word, but certain ideas about how things go together. Colors that complement each other. Stuff like, the color wheel and so on. Like, let's see, Kamen Rider, for example. You see red and green go together a lot. You see orange and blue go together a lot. That's the thing, though, right? If you look at the three primary colors, or, well, I think three primary colors, in terms of painting, is a little different from terms of, like, light. Because, like, if you have sliders on a video game, it would be something like red, blue, green, right? Which doesn't quite make sense in terms of, from, like, a painting perspective. When you go to painting, instead, you have red, yellow, and blue. So if you have blue, then you go with the opposite. Red and... I'm not describing this right, but I'm not an artist either. So you have those three colors, and you have three more colors, the complementary colors. So red and yellow would be orange. Yellow and blue would be green. Blue and red would be violet. So you would go with the opposite if you want to go with complementary colors. If you have blue, then you would go with orange, which is a mix of red and yellow. If you go with red, you go with green, a mix of blue and yellow. Um, but I've also seen stuff like I remember I once asked someone like what goes well with dark green, and I think they said that, like gray. I'm not quite sure where that fits in, but visually it looks like it works all right. Don't know too much about colors though. Excuse me while I sit down some more coffee. I decided to down like half a bottle earlier. Yeah, I replaced the contents of my water bottle with some coffee. I wonder what happens to the coffee at work in the break room. Like I'd boil a pot and then like does it get thrown out? Does someone drink it? I have no idea. Maybe it gets empty out in the morning. I wonder if anyone else drinks it from me. Like it's always empty when I check it out. So recently I started filling the pot myself. I don't know if it's even enough for like 2 full servings the size of my water bottle. Straight coffee is bitter. I don't particularly have a liking for black coffee, but probably too much cream and sugar isn't good for me either, despite the fact that I like the stuff, like it quite a bit. Now, what topic did I say I was going to go back to? I have no idea. Crappy memory and the constant talking from being a streamer. But mostly the crappy memory. Who knows what I was talking about? Well, we can always jump to another topic, like pizza. So yes, I'm fond of greasy foods. I'm a big fan of pepperoni. I remember there was a chat I was in, and then someone said they didn't like pepperoni. I was like, how could you not like pepperoni? And then like 3 other people popped up. I was like, I don't like pepperoni either. And I was like, what the heck? Oh, hey, Lizard. I didn't feel like playing anything today, so I'm just gonna be talking. Talking to myself if need be. If anyone shows up, I'd love to chat. How's your day going? Thank goodness you agree with me. Yeah, like I said, there was that chat I popped in. There were like 3 people who don't like pepperoni, and I'm like, you're killing me here. How could this be? I mean, I wasn't completely serious. You know, I wasn't like feeling a heart attack or like an anxiety attack coming on or anything like that. But I was like, oh man, that's a shame. So many people don't like pepperoni. I love pepperoni. Yeah, but how does he feel about the taste of pepperoni? Yeah, so I got some pizza, just Little Caesar's pizza. I remember someone referred to it as cardboard in the past, and it kind of reminds me of how I'm disparaging to myself. But I keep referring to it as cardboard pizza too, despite the fact that the people around me don't really insult it. But I'm like, Little Caesars has some of the tastiest cardboard I've ever had. So I guess I don't mind calling it cardboard pizza. I still like the stuff. I was trying to like hold myself back just a little bit, but then I still got basically 2 pizzas. Had the 3 meat treat, which had like sausages, pepperonis, and I forget what the last stuff is. Yes, meat lovers pizza, love it. Oh, you know, I just realized something. Give me a moment. Like I see you popping up in my chat, but it's not popping up on the monitor. I was wondering why, but I've set a different, I guess, scene from what I normally do. Excuse me a moment, where I just try to copy the scene. Whoa, there goes all the messages. Let me just grab the chat box and alert box while I'm at it. They copy that. This one. Okay, it should go away shortly. And meanwhile, I'll grab the alert box just in case someone decides to raid for whatever reason. I'm hoping I don't like click on one of the other scenes and show you something I'm not supposed to. Now, what could that be, I wonder? Well, we aren't going to go into detail about it. You know, with pizza, so one of the pizzas I got wasn't like a full-on pizza. It was like half pepperoni, and the other one was they called slices and sticks. So the slices would be actual pepperoni pizza slices, but the sticks would be like horizontally cut, like I think it's supposed to be like Italian cheese bread. I was imagining just like actual cheese bread, but I mean there's cheese on it. There's a decent amount of seasoning on it as well. Whatever the herbs and salts that they have on it, it's It's pretty tasty, but I still love my marinara sauce. Yeah, I mean they're not plain breadsticks. Like it's pretty much cheese pizza, but man, if plain cheese pizza had as much seasoning as these sticks had on them, I'd be going for cheese pizza a lot more. I say that, but I love the pepperoni too much. I don't think I could just get a cheese pizza. I'll still eat it though if you bring it. Yeah, dip stuff in marinara sauce. You know, it's a minor pet peeve, very minor pet peeve, where I'll look at someone's plate and they haven't eaten they were cheese sticks. So I would look at someone's plate and they would still have the crust left on it, and part of me is enough of a human food disposal system that I'm tempted to ask, "Are you gonna eat that?" But sometimes when I look at my own crust, like usually I just devour it. But if I stop long enough to actually stare at it, I think this would go great with marinara sauce. Yeah. Yep, yep. Pepperoni pizza with those seasonings. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Don't usually like customize my foods or anything like that. Usually I just take whatever's on it. Like I'm not fond of veggies. I do not live the healthiest lifestyle. But if you have veggies on it, I would generally eat it. Partially because my dear mother tells me it's good for me. Although it was up to my dear mother, I probably almost never eat anything that's fatty, salty, greasy, or sweet. Of course, I always like stuff that's a little strong in those categories, and she does not. Give it to the dog as a treat, huh? I mean, you ever have me over, you can give it to me. But I wouldn't want to deprive your dog of the treats. If your dog likes them, well, then your dog and I can be friends. You know, just a thought, but since I'm just kind of like yapping to myself and you're the only one in chat right now anyway, do you perhaps want to hop into a voice chat? I mean, I have a Discord server. I don't mind you like leave it right afterwards. Honestly, the place is so dead. I can't really blame anyone for leaving. I'll just like pop up the Discord in case you want to pop up to chat, and you know what? I'm gonna jump into voice chat myself. Just in case. Of course, I'm in stream mode, so I won't even notice if someone comes in unless they actually say something. If you don't wanna, it's alright. You don't have to feel obligated to. I can keep chatting all day. Ah, okay. Maybe I should cut this off early. Like, I picked a soundtrack that's like an hour and 55 minutes, but I'll probably jump over to your stream. I don't know how long I'll hang out. Part of me showing up to people's stream is just, I kind of feel obligated to, you know? If I hit follow and I see them streaming, well, honestly, there's a few people that I don't feel super inclined to join, and I feel kind of bad about it, honestly. Generally, if they have more than 3 streamers as well, then the need that I have to support them goes away somewhat. Xbox Party Chat, huh? I think I might have something like that. When I was playing Halo Infinite briefly, I didn't play that game for long. It was fun while it lasted, but just wasn't really... I don't know. I have fun with the Halo, but it's never really hooked me. But anyway, they made me go on some kind of Xbox Live thing. I'm not quite sure. We were trying to play with someone who had an Xbox but no PC. Couldn't figure out what was going on, but we might have some kind of party chat there. If you're going to be streaming, though, maybe I should just hang out in your chat. I feel like I constantly have things to work on, partially related to being a streamer. It's a terrible reason, and it's only part of the reason, but like I'm supposed to be streaming the Somnium Files today. But I was thinking about all the VODs that I have backed up, and I know the VODs are just sitting there on Twitch, but I'm also trying to upload them on YouTube as well. As I keep saying, no one really watched them. Oh, the last episode did have quite a few views. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it's because it was the time skip, or the last episode I uploaded. I'm like 3 episodes behind. It's not good. I'll still be behind if I upload an episode every 2 days. But there's the Somnium Files. There's Valkyria Chronicles 4. I played Naraka Blade Point the other day, and I forgot there's anything else. Also, I've said this mostly on my Discord, which is dead all the time. But I want to work on like 3 different videos. There's a certain deadline that's kind of self-imposed, but I want to generate like 3 more videos. One's gonna be a silly video, mostly about Hunt Showdown, and it's gonna be silly. It's not gonna be the best thing you've ever seen. But I'm kind of looking forward to seeing it. It's gonna be cringe. It's gonna be great. Other than that, I want to work on another hunt guide video because, as I've said a couple times before, I had like 6 new subscribers or something like that, and I'm sure they're all here for the hunt content. They don't want to see me blabbering on and on about the Somnium Files or Valkyria Chronicles 4. I suspect that because it's got a 4 in its name, no one comes watches it because they think that you need to see the previous 3 games in the series. The 4th game actually takes place at the same time as the 1st game. Actually, the 3rd game also takes place at the same time as the 1st game, so that's kind of awkward. Let's see. What was the last video that I had planned? I had 2 hunt videos, and then oh, this one's gonna take some effort. But I was thinking about making a review video for Ender Lilies, the soundtrack that you're listening to right now. It's a great game. I don't think I could have played it on stream because unlike Valkyria Chronicles, which I keep forgetting about. Speaking of which, I'm scheduled to stream that tomorrow. I don't want to break away from my schedule too often. I'm already doing it too often. But I want to do some grinding because I keep losing on stream. And sometimes I cut some of that out of the VODs, but it can't be fun to watch me lose over and over. So, gonna do a little bit of grinding and get some stuff done. It's not really grinding, it's more like do a couple stages in my own time. Level up characters, I don't even know if that actually improves anything, really. Maybe a little bit more HP, hopefully a little bit more damage. The enemies in the last stage were oddly tanky. But yeah, other than that, I'm mostly trying to stick to my schedule, and I keep thinking up stuff that I want to stream. Yeah, I know how it is. I'm trying to stick to a schedule, but there's stuff like Kingdom 2 Crowns, for example. This has been an ongoing series, a sporadic ongoing series for months and months, and be months before between each episode. Midora and I think we have 1 episode left. Just gotta find some time for him and I to play together. And it's gotten a couple views, so that's not too bad. I feel like I had some other thought. I always have some other thoughts. Some tangent that I could run off of, and then some more tangents that get lost in the wind. Let's see, I was talking about Ender Lilies and how I was going to make a review video. Yeah, so, unlike those other games, I was playing Ender Lilies non-stop pretty much for a few days. Yeah, that's definitely the more fun way to do it. Part of the thing for me as a schedule, though, is, well, partially some people told me that it would be easier to get, like, consistent viewers if you're consistent with your schedule. Obviously, since it's not happening. I don't know if it's my game choice, if I'm just not interesting enough as a person. I don't know what it is. And I don't think I've tried hard enough to bring in more viewers. Like, I've talked about learning to sing, but I've never really done it. And I don't trust my singing ability at all. I would not trust my life with it. I would not trust your life with my singing ability. Sigh. But, okay, so I keep trailing off, but Ender Lilies. That was a fun game. It was a Metroidvania. I was playing it practically non-stop. I can't space it out as far as I did with these other games, and I'm thinking I shouldn't be spacing them that far apart. I wonder if I said something that contradicted my earlier theories in the Somnium Files, because they keep dropping hints. I'm like, okay, I think who they're hinting at is this guy. A couple of episodes later, I think I might have said something contradictory. I'm not quite sure. I feel like I said something contradictory, but I couldn't find the exact line in the video. Streaming a certain time, huh? Makes sense, makes sense. And also it makes sense that you would do it when your husband's working. I tried to stream, like, when my folks are out, for example, less interruptions, and I have some mixed thoughts, but I'll keep some of those thoughts to myself. It's gotten a little problematic on my Sunday streams, though, because basically my stream's sandwiched between 2 errands, and my dear mother wants me to take care of something, like, about halfway through. I think I spaced out well enough, but it still feels too restrictive. And honestly, this errand's something I should be prioritizing more than my streams. So I'm thinking about switching those to Saturday streams. We'll still mostly be doing Invisible Ink on those days, simply because there's always a few people who show up. And, you know, it's kind of nice to know that people are showing up. But also because they're big nerds about that game, and I do want to actually complete a run with those mods. I haven't even completed a single run of that game on stream yet. I have uploaded a failed run. I think I uploaded 2 failed runs onto YouTube. Doing dishes. Man, I'm so lazy with house chores or just chores and errands and stuff I need to do in general. I'm such a procrastinator. If death itself came for me, I'd ask them to wait 5 minutes. I used to get into the habit of doing dishes before I went to bed each night, even if it's like 4 a.m. But I think at some point that might have contributed to why I kept going to sleep so late, because there was a part of me so resistant to doing anything that I'm supposed to that I keep putting it off. And then 4 a.m. sleep time. I can't do that anymore though. My sleep habits are still terrible. I still show up to work with low sleep, but like I can't tell if my performance suffers because I just have no attention span, if I have no willpower, if I'm already getting burnt out, or it's how low sleep I've been getting. Like I mentioned that yesterday was not a great day for me. The night before I had like a solid like 7 hours of sleep. I don't usually get that much sleep before a work night. But I guess the quality of sleep wasn't great. Maybe my body wasn't used to sleeping at those times or sleeping that much, or I don't know what it was. I just didn't feel great. Not tired exactly, just felt bad. But yeah, these days though, if I were to go to sleep at 4 a.m., we'd be talking like absolute max, like 3 hours of sleep, and that's like 3 hours of sleep if I wanted to like get up and go to work right away. Well, it depends on the day a little bit, but still wouldn't be much more than 3 hours regardless. And that's probably bad. 4 hours kills me. I've definitely been getting less than 6 hours of sleep pretty often these days, but I feel like 6 hours is the bare minimum for me to function at what is plausibly 100%. Less than that, start seeing a little effects here and there. Maybe I lose my temper a little faster, maybe I get distracted a little easier. Basically, the not good effects. And that's 4 hours, let's not even go there. 3 hours, done it before. Shorter work on 3 hours of sleep. Got through the day, but it's not good. Also, car rides have always made me sleepy, even when I'm driving. It is not a good feeling to be sleepy on the ride to work. And getting home from work, it's going to be that much worse, especially if there's traffic. Not good habits to get into. Remember there was a time when my friend was like, as long as I'm driving, I can stay awake. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it. 6 hour drive? Going to visit, well, I mean, it wasn't always to visit my brother, but my brother was at school, like 6 hour drive away, and yeah, I couldn't handle that ride. Even though we'd always stop, every time, we would stop halfway through to get some food and some gas. Cool, cool. Makes me wonder if you have like a headset on or something. I know a friend of mine was talking about his like $300 headset. Just has to make sure it's charged, and then he'll wander out of the room, do dishes, do cooking. I think he's living in a dorm these days. Well, he's always been the responsible kind. He wouldn't be like me, letting everyone do their chores for them. And honestly, I should be a lot more patient with my folks, considering how little I have to do around here. I'm a spoiled brat. I wish I wasn't a brat. And I don't know if I should say I wish I wasn't spoiled. It's kind of nice having all these conveniences. I'd probably die on my own, though. I'd probably stock up my food stores with, like, instant noodles, frozen pizzas, a whole container of eggs, and I'll do stuff like cook eggs using the microwave instead of the stove. Bread is nice. Bread and eggs. Like I said, I eat the pizza crust, so... I mean, pizza crust isn't just bread, it's like greasy bread, but... I like bread. I like bread in all its forms. I like potatoes in all its form. Dear mother got me some potato wedges. Well, technically she got us some potato wedges, but I love potato wedges. Speaker on your phone, huh? Yeah, that's an option. Phones are amazing these days, aren't they? Man, when I was little, my dad had a pager. I still don't completely know how they work. You would send, like, what, a single message on them? Something like that? I think they were a little awkward to use, too. You didn't have, like, a full-on keyboard or anything like that. Definitely no touchscreen technology back then. I don't know what happened to that pager. Actually, I don't know what happened to a lot of the stuff that my dad used to have. And then there's stuff that you just find around the house sometimes. You know, I'll try to get back to that in a moment. But, like, phone tech? It's not just phone tech, but, like, handheld electronics in general. Like, we went from pagers to... well, I guess flip phones didn't come that much later, right? 1990s, we already had flip phones and stuff. They were the fancy new technology. Let's see, Kamen Rider Fives was somewhere like I want to say like 1995-ish, but that was like their whole gimmick. So Kamen Rider, despite having adult themes, the suits, the gadgets, they're all catered to kids. So you have like these bulky toy flip phones. They have to like punch in a code, do a pose, stick into their belt, and then they transform. So flip phones, and it wasn't just flip phones. One had kind of like a twist phone. I don't know how to describe it exactly. Instead of flipping it, the top half like just like, rotates out. And then I didn't see it in that show, but then there were the kind that they would have the phone like pop like how do I say this? The screen's kind of staggered from the rest of the phone, so you like push it halfway off the phone. I think some of those you could like rotate too, so you'd have a vertical screen. Kind of fancy. And at some point, we had smartphones. This is the kind of stuff that was called a comlink in sci-fi series. You know, you could talk to people, you can have video calls, you have all kinds of other fancy gadgets on there. Like, Shadowrun 5th edition, and I don't know if this is possible in real life, but one of the supplementary books on the internet side of things, what they call the Matrix, you can get maybe it was physical technology, maybe that was a different book. Regardless, you can get some special dongles that let you do stuff like turns your phone into a taser. Sounds like it could be useful, especially in a cyberpunk kind of setting, especially in a game where you are constantly on the wrong side of the law. It's not just phones either. Like when I was in high school, I was not a great student. I was not a great student. I don't care. You say that that if I seem like I'm fairly intelligent, and I have some things to say about intelligence too. But I was a lousy student, and I didn't understand what any of the big nerds were talking about in their crazy math classes, let alone these guys walking around with their graphic calculators that are like, look, I have Doom on my phone. And I look at it, I was like, the details are kind of lacking, but yes, this guy's playing Doom on his graphic calculator. Let's see, Doom 2 were like early 1990s games. First-person shooters. I always thought of them as really old games, but I didn't realize that when I first saw them as an itty-bitty little kid, that they were still new. Well, relatively new, you know. I was a very itty-bitty kid. Those kind of games kind of scared me. And let's see, it's a story I don't have to go into, but I think my first signs of procrastination happened when I was really itty-bitty little, like maybe 6 years old. I played Hexen once on stream, which uses the same engine as Doom. I don't know if it's called the Doom engine. I don't know. Although Hexen means witches, and it was a fantasy series. Heretic was the predecessor to Hexen. That one just felt like a reskin of Doom with an inventory system. That was great. You were born in 1998. I had some silly words in my head, and I'll say some of them, but I was like, you are the future! No, I'm just getting old. I have to constantly remind myself to stop saying that, but I'm saying that so often now. People will be like, oh, I'm getting old now, and I'm like, so I guess it must be fossilized. Everything I ingest is fossil fuel. Assuming it keeps me running and doesn't just kill me. I don't think there's any point hiding my age, is there? Regardless, early 30s. Definitely feeling like I'm a little old now, and it's silly. Like, I shouldn't be calling myself old at 30. I've said this before, but the reason why I think I feel myself being old is not just the age itself. It's getting to this age without having accomplished anything. It's a source of anxiety for me. I don't know. Is it because I've read and watched so much fiction, and you have all these teenagers doing heroic things? And yes, yet I'm pretty disparaging of them if they're in a hero role and they do something extremely mature. I mean, they're kids. They can get away with it. Even early 20s, you know? And I'm definitely not mature for my age. I don't have any right to complain about them. But still, in real life, you have all these successful 20-something-year-olds, early 20s even. Middle manager at some company, got hired with great recommendations. They had to turn down job acceptances because everyone wants them. And there's me. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Getting married at 19, and I I don't know how sarcastic you're being when you say that's your biggest accomplishment. And on the one hand, people might think, yeah, getting married is no big deal. But I have never had a girlfriend, so that might be a pretty big accomplishment. Although relationships scare me. And I've probably already said this on stream. I probably said this during the last Just Chatting stream. I have to make sure not to say this too much. But okay, I've definitely said this story before. So this kind of sums up what I think about relationships. Not exactly, but kind of. So when I was in beauty school, since it's cosmetology and not barbering, I mean they both deal with cutting hair, but it was mostly females. And you would have these ladies talking about their deadbeat baby dads who don't pay the child support even though they're doing pretty well for themselves. And then on the Marine side, shoot, I just said the branch in the military. I've purposely been trying to avoid that. Not for any particular reason. I guess just an attempt to practice my self-censorship. Don't give too many personal information. Don't give too much personal information, especially if I become like big and famous someday, which might not happen, but still, good to prepare. Anyway, on the military reserve side, there was one time where I was chilling with a buddy of mine. His roommate decided to not give him the keys before going on a half marathon run. So the dude's chilling in my room. I'm in my civilian clothes. He's in his uniform, and he's talking about this girl they used to be close with, and it was pretty sweet. But he was also talking about how at some point she just stopped talking to him altogether. He just drifted apart from her, and he has no idea why. And that made me sad. But it's like you're hearing both sides of it. The cosmetology folks were a tad older than the. Okay, well, both military and cosmetology. You're gonna find a wide range of people, but the average age was a little older in the cosmetology side, because for the military side, especially the lower ranks, they're all like kids fresh out of high school. A lot of them didn't even go to college or are currently attending college. Regardless, it was a lot of young people who were telling me some stories about relationships that I did not like. And then there's more stuff like, friends getting divorces or girlfriends leaving them for another guy and stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, relationships suck. Fairly recently, I was told that. Look at me pretending to be a peer person. I'll just say it. So they said sex was more work than pleasure, and I was like, that does not sound appealing. And they're like, but you gotta try at least once. Hire someone if you have to. I was like, nah, I'd rather stick to my video games. Does it make me sound like a little kid? Sure. But seriously, if you're gonna tell me something is more work than pleasure, I'm not sure I want to try it. Especially because it comes with a lot of other baggage. I don't know how I feel about a one-night stand, and there's dangers about it. Heck, in the military, they constantly showed us, like, okay, not constantly, but like once a year, they would show us a PowerPoint presentation about sexually transmitted diseases or infections, and have pictures of it. So yeah, not really appealing. If you're not going to be doing a one-night stand, we're talking about relationships. They sound stressful. They straight up sound stressful. I guess. I mean, my group of friends is mostly nerds, so maybe they didn't know what they were doing. I don't know. I don't know the situation. Not gonna question too much. Sorry, I'm trying to process that last part. You lucked out marrying your high school sweetheart. That's cool. If you would make it work, then all the more to you. And I may be a selfish bastard. Okay, not selfish, self-centered. Small distinction there. I'm always thinking about myself. Even when I'm being considerate of other people, I'm thinking about how they perceive me. But despite that, I think there's a part of me that actually is happy when I hear about people having happy relationships. There's a part of me that gets a little sad when I hear stories of breakups and, sorrows and heartbreaks. I want people as a whole to be happy. I want them to be good first and foremost, and then I want them to be happy. So maybe I'm not that good of a person. I don't just want them to be happy. I want them to be good first, then we can be happy. It's kind of funny though. As in general, I think I dislike people. I'm pretty pessimistic. I dislike people as a whole. But if I talk to someone, I generally like them. Not always. I can be pretty prejudiced. I can be easily annoyed. I'm temperamental. But as a whole, I want people to be happy. Yeah, so I don't quite get that what that last phrase is. Shoot. I guess I'll suspend my self-censorship for a bit. What do you mean you do have a bitch for a mill, though? I don't know what that means. Mill is probably an abbreviation of some sort, but I'm obviously missing what it means. Let's see, I feel like there were several things I said I'd jump back to. I think that's one of the scariest parts of relationships to me, or marriage. Even if I could put up with... okay, that's a terrible way to put it. Even if I find someone I truly love that I want to be with, and they want to be with me, the awkward part would be the in-laws. 1, can I get along with their in-laws? 2, can their in-laws get along with me? Because the way I look at myself, I'm practically a bum. Generally, people wouldn't be happy about someone like that marrying to their family. Just one of my many worries. So this is a completely different jump in topic, but I just remember one of like the 3 things I said I'd get back to, and because I only remember one of them. So my dear father, and about where his pager went. So I don't know where his pager went, but I keep finding stuff around here. I've had this joke that if I found the Necronomicon somewhere in my house, I wouldn't be too surprised. I would be fairly startled, but my father is the only possible explanation for where that book could have come from. You know, aside from the book just spawning to my possession to try and do evil things. But like, I don't know. I'd be rummaging around in the shed in the backs, and I'd be like, huh, there's a rusty axe back here. And then I'd be like, wait, we've had an axe around our house since when? I've never seen this thing in use. How long has this thing been here? Or like in the near the front, like near the hedge, basically buried in some plants, I'd find like a big old box, like a metal box, like thin metal, very thin metal. Like you could probably punch through it pretty easily. Well, not like punch through like with your fists, but like if you had like a hammer, if you had even a small hammer, you could probably punch a hole through it fairly easily. But you know, I'd be like, why and since when have we had a treasure chest in our house, or you know, in front of our house? You know, it would be stuff like that. Stuff like that would appear sometimes, and we're just like, oh yeah. Father, I usually call him Dad, but you know, I'm gonna just call him. I'm just gonna call my dear father on stream. He would have a habit of bringing stuff home, just like stuff he found like lying on the side of the sidewalk that people don't want. And my dear mother would get upset at him for bringing home all this junk. It was part of him that I didn't really mind, and I guess I've had some hoarding mentality myself, but more in video games. Yeah, for me it's more in video games though. Like I'd stockpile stuff. They'd be like, "Hey, where'd Phantasma go?" And I'll be like, "I'm still back at the house trying to organize all the treasure chests. And why the frick do you guys have money in 2 different chests? Store them all in this chest right here." You know, stuff like that. Trying to organize all the potion ingredients in one chest, all the dye materials in another. Silly stuff like that, and it gets messed up again right away. But yeah, my dear father would bring home some stuff sometimes, and yes, we'd dig out some stuff out of his hoard. His hoard's not that big. By all rights, there shouldn't be anything left hidden from us. But again, I did find an axe in a shed that I've known about for years and years, and I've gone into repeatedly over the years. It's just, where did this thing come from? I don't imagine to find any like new technology. Okay, now that I think about it, finding the actual Necronomicon in my own house would be less startling to me than finding like some cutting edge like railgun or something like that. Like if it's old, I could blame my father for having found it and picked it up and brought it to our house and just put it somewhere where no one ever noticed it. But I can't explain away a railgun. I feel like have a few little stories about my father, but Perhaps let's save it for another time. I feel like some of these stories end up repeating over and over, but then again, I guess my thoughts are the same way. I don't really have thoughts about politics or sports, about current events. Usually it'll be like some story that popped up, or someone would say something and my brain instantly tangents off into video games. Like earlier, I was talking about color coordination, and I was thinking about it in terms of Code Vein, in terms of Armored Core. And maybe that's one of the other things I was going to talk about. Yeah, in Armored Cores, you in the Armored Core games, you have these mechs that you customize. You start off with a basic mech, you unlock more parts, you buy more parts from the shop, you start putting stuff together. Like you think, like some designs will look a little funny, but you'll be doing stuff like I want my mech to carry uh, a lot of weapons. So you give your mech these big beefy legs, but you give them these tiny little arms so it wouldn't weigh too much. A tiny little core, basically the torso, so it wouldn't weigh too much. Tiny little head, but then you put like a head unit that has a built-in radar because you don't want to carry along a full-size radar unit. And you have like these big old weapons on the sides. So, you get some funny designs. That one actually doesn't look too strange, having big beefy legs and tiny little limbs. Doesn't look too strange, at least not to me. But the color coordination was always the thing. I don't have to like do stuff like, okay, I got a red shirt and blue pants, and I don't have to worry about the jumpsuit look by making like both shirt and pants blue or whatever. But there's still some coordination, you have your main colors, you have just your secondary colors, you have your accents. And of course, you want to color your weapons. You want to color them differently. In Metal Gear Solid 5, for example, I had a habit of coloring all my non-lethal weapons blue for some reason. Let's see, I remember like an SMG with like, I think they're supposed to be rubber bullets. It would be like this vivid shade of like kind of darkish blue. Mostly just like regular blue. I don't know what other people consider regular blue. But then I have a sniper rifle that I couldn't get that shade of regular blue on for some reason. Or no, wait. Hmm. Maybe part of it was already blue by default. Maybe that's why I picked blue. But like at the tranquilizer rifle, I couldn't find that exact shade, so I have like this light blue camouflage pattern on it instead. But still, I color all my non-lethal guns blue. The rest of them, they just stay with that black color look. Random trivia. If you're in the military and you wear a watch, at least in my brief time there, it seems you're supposed to put black electrical tape over the metal part so it doesn't reflect light. Because if someone's far away with binoculars and a scope, or binoculars or a scope, just like looking around, most likely it would be binoculars if they're not actually actively trying to shoot someone, is my guess anyway. If they look around, they see a glint of metal, they're going to be looking that direction. So you'd be wearing like the face of your watch on the inside of your wrists. You would have electrical tape blocking off the metal parts of your wrist strap. You would also have stuff like, okay, so as far as I can tell, it's mostly officers who have shiny rank insignias, although there was... I don't know anything about the Navy rank structure, and I think like cooks have like shiny rank insignias or something. And I don't know what the ranks actually are. But anyway, in the field, the officers they they have the all black version of the rank insignia. Now, considering that some ranks are like, it would be like a gold bar for second lieutenant, a silver bar for first lieutenant. With stuff like that, you don't actually know what someone's rank is if they just have a black bar. They're some kind of lieutenant, and you're like, okay, well, I would just call them sir and just carry on with my day, I suppose. The reason why they do that, along with the reason why they don't have you salute on the field, is because if someone was looking over with a scope rifle and they see you salute someone, they think, oh, target of opportunity. Kabam! Well, you just got an officer killed. How do you feel about that? There's probably a bit more involved in that, but still, you don't want them to pinpoint who your officers are. Because chain of command falls apart, you're probably screwed. Especially with how little they tell you sometimes, You're supposed to wait for the orders to trickle down from above, but what happens if your entire chain gets ripped out at the center? Well, then you, the links at the bottom, get, well, you don't get pulled along when the rest of the, I don't know, let's say the rest of the vehicle leaves. You'd be that length of chain left on the ground in enemy territory. I should have alcohol. drinking all these substances that do minor stuff to me anyway. Coffee, alcohol, what's the difference, right? Black coffee and alcohol both kind of taste bad to me, but I guess I'm kind of growing used to the taste. And last time he was here, Medoro got some, I think he called them lagers. He said they're pretty sweet. I guess I haven't really noticed. Well, I guess I've noticed a tiny bit of sweetness, but to me, it's more like the alcohol doesn't hurt. That's basically what it is for me. IPAs, man, those things are rough on me. Although I guess it's still not hard liquor. I remember I was somewhere where, what was it I was drinking? I don't even know. Whiskey maybe? I don't know. Anyway, someone gave me a little bit of like, I don't know what it's called, like spice rum, honey rum, or whatever. I took a sip of it and I almost immediately wanted to throw up. Now, my alcohol tolerance has never been great, and once I've already gotten drunk, everything, like alcohol, progressively tastes nastier to me. I will vomit before I will ever black out. But whatever it was, I hate it. I'm like, you know what? I don't like honeyed rum. Because of that, if someone asks me what I want to drink, my first answer is I don't know, and my second answer, whatever it is probably not rum. Hops in my beer. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. But, you know, if we ever meet up, I'm not saying I'm planning anything, but if we ever meet up, I'd be all too willing to drink whatever kind of beer you got. I've noticed that, I don't know if this is like the first stage of alcoholism, but I like having a little drink. I guess it helps me loosen up, and I think in general, I'm more of a happy drunk than anything else. Maybe a little too affectionate? I've had this thing in the past where, like, I'm not normally a huggy person, even though I think part of me wants to be. But I'm more willing to use my drunkenness as an excuse to get huggy, which means I'm already drunk. I'm not quite sure how to process that. Because obviously I'm drunk and that's why I'm being huggy. But at the same time, I feel like I'm not drunk enough to be directly huggy. It's indirectly huggy because I'm drunk enough to use the drunkenness as an excuse. Sorry, I'm drunk enough to use the drunkenness as an excuse. Am I announcing that right? Despite English being my first language, I feel kind of awkward about my English sometimes. And then I view the VODs and I'm like, why do you stutter so much? Why do you pause unnaturally? Why do you go, ah? Well, that natural pause was more coffee. You might have noticed from the funny way my avatar shaking. Actually, is my avatar trembling? Am I trembling? I don't think so. I mean, I don't have the most steady hands, but it feels like my avatar is trembling a little too much. Is that just my hair flopping around from the movements of my mouth? From the way my eyes are blinking? I don't know. I do remember one time when I was out in the field, and someone was like, "Hey, Knight, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why do you ask?" And he's like, "Hold out your arm." I held out my arm, and my arm was shaking. I was like, "Oh, that's weird. I feel fine. I don't think I'm dehydrated." But yeah, my arm was like visibly trembling that time. I'm like, "What the heck?" Kind of how I imagine someone too much coffee being like. I mentioned I've been drinking more of the coffee at work lately, but there was at least one day where I came home, I was playing. You know, that's what I could have been doing instead of doing a just chatting stream. I could have been playing a lot of fun. I don't think I played it with Emmerich since before he had his. I know it's not officially a debut, but his webcam debut. Since before then, I know that's only been a couple days. I don't know, my sense of time's getting worse though. Having a speech impediment. I'm sure I got something. Like right now I'm going full motor mouth and I just pronounce motor mouth. Like I had a funny emphasis right there when I got to the mouth and motor mouth. Like I was thinking about a different word, like I was half transitioning to another word. I'm sure I got something, but right now I'm going full motor mouth and I'm not really detecting much of a stutter or a pause or anything like that. Maybe because I can just go on and on my random thoughts. At some point though, I will run out of stuff and then I will pause and go, what else do I have to talk about? Let's go with bread. I love bread. I do like bread though, and since that's my next random topic, let's go on with that. Speaking of bread, there was um there was a member of Hololive that graduated, quote unquote, recently. I guess that's what they call it when someone retires, or even gets fired. I don't know how that whole thing works. She seemed to have a thing about bread, and she had like I guess a mascot that was basically a bread dog. Like it was a dog that looked like it was made of bread, or maybe it was a moving piece of bread that was shaped like a dog. Born with speech impediment, huh? Maybe I haven't been attentive. Didn't seem like it was that bad. Actually, I don't remember your speech impediment at all, so maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. I did take a speech class. One of the classes I took was it was a journalism class that turned out to be the school newspaper. That was a big pain, especially because I did something while drunk and sprained my ankle for months and months. It kind of sucked. Especially that first day. I dragged myself out to the school's volleyball field. Super slow. Pretty big campus. I mean, I guess I should be glad I wasn't going to a full-on, like, university, like, full-size university. But it was slow going. Couldn't even put on shoes because of how much it hurt. I was slowly dragging my foot, and that probably exacerbated the issue. Never studying, huh? I feel like I say a lot of words wrong, though. And sometimes I say a word, and I can't tell if I'm... See, another unnatural pause there. For example, in Hunt, there's a creature called an immolator. But there's another word that's similar, and they've made fun of the Apollo Queen for pronouncing it as immolator? Like, emolator? Like, see, I can't say it. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I know the words. If I hear someone say it, I recognize it, but I can't tell them apart in my own mind. Like, I can spell them. And for the longest time, I was always used to reading words more than I am pronouncing them. There are some words that I've probably never, ever heard spoken out loud, but I know how to spell them. To immolate means, I think, to burst into flame. Something to do with fire. I don't know if it's just burst into flame, if it means, like, spontaneously ignite. I don't know if it means explode in fire. I don't know. It's, basically, I don't know the exact minute details. I just know it means to go up in flames. Well, immolating something with an E, and, you know, one of them is like IMM, and the other one's just EM. Like, there's only one M. Well, EMU. Emulator. And the other one's immolator. I don't get English. Why is there two M's in one, one M in the other? I'm not quite sure. The other one is to immolate something means to be like them, to copy them. And I actually used that word last time I was talking about why I became a streamer and why I'm trying to get to affiliate and beyond. Because I'm trying to immolate some people that I admire. Also, I do have my own difficult words, but I kind of want to call attention to it. Because then you start noticing it. I feel like I have enough of a, shall we say, American accent. I kind of feel like my voice is kind of distinct and in a way that I'm not exactly fond of. Most people aren't fond of their own voices, though. But there's at least one word I could think of that I pronounce very oddly. Except I don't think people really notice it unless I actually point it out. I think that's partially why I feel a little more awkward speaking with people who don't natively speak English. Because there's some parts of my English, maybe you can just figure out what I'm saying from the grammar, the phrasing, from the accent. That if we're actually talking about like how to pronounce perfectly accurately, I'd be all sorts of wrong. Milk. Am I saying that word right? I emphasize the K at the end, even though I don't think I normally do when I'm talking about milk. Am I subconsciously doing it now, or am I just unable to stop emphasizing it? It reminds me of Japanese, like, other than ends, their words don't end in consonants. So instead of milk, it would be... Okay, well, in theory, it would be something like Milku. You know, there would be like an extra U at the end, but actually they don't even combine the consonants like that, so it would be Ni Ryu Ku. Malk? You know, I thought I had a thought, but nothing. My brain's empty. I have nothing negative to say, but at the same time, it's like I got nothing. I don't know how or why, but you said Malk, and my brain just went empty. Head empty. The lights are on, but no one's home. And someone just tripped the... Someone just tripped what do you call it? Someone just tripped the circuit breaker, so now the lights aren't on, supposedly. But I mean, you could still see the windows of my soul blinking. My eyes. Rapid blinking. Let's see if this gives me some, like, epilepsy attack. Or something similar to epilepsy. Wow. My avatar really shuddered there when I took another sip of coffee. When I hear Malk these days, I think of the Malkavians from Vampire the Masquerade. And I think technically they also exist in Vampire the Requiem. But I think people are generally more fond of Vampire the Masquerade. Partially because of the meta plot. The only problem is, if you play with... Okay, I've never actually played the Vampire the Masquerade. I've never even played the War of Darkness settings, any of them. Well, technically it's one setting, but the game systems are a little different. They're not balanced against each other. Mages are completely broken, but supposedly one of the vampire clans, the... Man, I don't remember what they're called. The Tremere, that's what they're called. Supposedly they start off as mages. They sought immortality and lost their normal magic from that. Although apparently in that setting, magic is so utterly broken that you would never trade that for immortality. In fact, you should be able to make immortality yourself. Might have been a holdover from an earlier setting / game that they pulled the mages from. And then they made the actual mage system. What was I saying with this? Oh, Malks. The Malkavian. They're kind of an interesting bunch. Oh, and I was also talking about the meta plot. Yes, so the meta plot. If you're experienced with the setting, then you already know mostly what's going on. Like, even I know the broad strokes, at least. But there's a lot of, I guess, like, vampire mythology within the setting. Most characters don't actually know what's going on, especially because all the Vampire the Masquerade games have you play as some new fledgling who just randomly gets pulled into the vampire world, often without a proper teacher, and they don't know what's going on. So they don't know the true history. And there's a bunch of different theories, but a lot of the players do know. So they try to make it a little more vague in Vampire the Requiem. Problem is they made everything too vague. You have this issue where even the old vampires don't know what actually happened, because while they're in their periods of deep sleep, their memories start getting jumbled around. It's not really sleep. It's like a never-ending series of dreams or perhaps nightmares where the characters, the events, they get shuffled around. So when they wake up, they're a little confused. They don't exactly know what's going on. They might not even realize how old they are. They could be the most senior vampire in the room. They might not realize it. In terms of the Malkavians themselves, though, they're the insane ones. The idea is that every vampire clan has its own clan curse, something that shows that they're a monster. So for them, it's how twisted their minds are, but at the same time, that insanity gives them some supernatural insight. They look at the world in a way that other people don't, and thus can see or understand things that other people can't. So they're insightful. It's just sometimes a little hard to figure out what they're saying or their motivations. And Malkavians are played a couple different ways. One of the ways is referred to as a fish Malk. I'm not sure that's because of the one image of a Malkavian seemingly fondling a fish, or the idea that some people play Malkavians really silly like they're supposed to be insane and that's supposed to be terrifying. Vampire the Masquerade is supposed to be a game of personal horror, among other things. But the fish Malks, they're the kind of people that would slap you with a fish and giggle. So that's another interpretation of it. As for milk itself, I got no issues with it. My issue with milk, actually, is how quickly it expires. And sometimes you can't tell with different milks. I'm sure it's got to do with the brand. But some cartons of milk, they would give an expiration date, and it feels like they start going bad before it. Others, they seem to last well after. I don't know if it's chemically treated or what. Lactose intolerant. So, like, how bad does this affect you? Can you not handle pizza? You're gonna make me cry. What about ice cream? What about... You need milk to bake a cake, right, generally? I mean, you might not need milk, but generally? How long has it been going? It's only been an hour? I've only been talking for an hour? Possibly less. I started streaming a few minutes later. Actually, it might have been just over an hour now that I think about it. I admire you for that. Me, like I said, I don't really watch my diet. I do not live the healthiest lifestyle. I should go for a run. The fact that I got freaking burgers last night and today I went and got pizza on the way home from work. I need to go for a run tonight. I don't exercise nearly enough. I wonder if that's partially why I don't feel so good lately. Cakes don't need milk. Okay. I thought maybe there was like some milk, or maybe some cakes need milk. I'm sure some cakes don't need eggs either. But I don't know much about cooking. I should. I figured if I ever live my own, there's a chance I'll learn to cook, but more likely than not, I'll just be stockpiling the Soylent, the instant noodles. I'll probably have 5 different kinds of instant noodles. I'll probably have eggs and probably like the recipes of how to cook them with a microwave because I'm that freaking lazy. I'll probably have a couple of different varieties of bread. Oh, that's true. We actually... I don't think we have almond milk at home right now. We have oat milk. That stuff's good. Me being me, I prefer the sweet variety. Dear mother prefers the unsweetened variety, but she's never liked excessive amounts of sweetness or salt or grease or any of that stuff. When I was younger, we'd go to like various like rice plate places, and they would have like these pieces of grilled meat, and there'd be too much black stuff on it, and she would like intentionally chop off, like not just like the barest bit, but a decent amount of the stuff. It always annoyed me, and I always felt like she was silly for saying stuff like, it will give you cancer. My friends were like, well, yeah, I mean, it can give you cancer. I was like, well, shoot. But grilled meat? Hamburger helper. Huh. I'm wondering, do you cook a lot? Pretty sure I heard you say that you were a housewife, but I mean, that could mean different things depending on the couple. You probably talked about cooking before and I just forgot about it. Obviously, you know more than me, but that's not saying too much. I realize that you are setting up stream and we'll have to go soon. I appreciate you stopping by. I was fully... Well, I mean, I was hoping I wouldn't be alone the whole time, but I was fully expecting to have to talk to myself for 2 hours. And it's what I chose to do, after all. Streaming in general, and deciding to do a just chatting stream playing video games. Because I guess the heat and my recent mood have made it so that talking non-stop is less effort than playing a video game that I left on a cliffhanger. I probably will join your stream afterwards. But for now, I'm going to keep talking to myself for a while longer. My streams are too short. But... Sorry, I just got distracted by something. My streams are too short, and I think it would give more people more time to show up if I kept them longer. Because there are definitely some times where I'm like, oh hey, so-and-so is streaming, and I'll check back with them later, like maybe when I have a lull in the day, or maybe when I feel like it, and I'll be like, man, it's only been a couple hours, but they're gone. I was distracted because I noticed that I had a notification on Discord. When I checked it, excuse me a moment. Okay, hopefully I successfully muted that big burp. Yesterday I posted some words of wisdom I heard from a video game character. Basically, there was a rather simple-minded character who would say stuff when asked what she wanted. She says stuff like, I want to eat until I'm full every day. I want to spend half the day in a hot bath and then wrap myself in a warm blanket and lay there until I'm hungry again. I was like, you know what? That's a mood. That's one heck of a mood. And my friend responded with, this seems like a fine way to have 0 computer game time. I do like my gaming time, but God, there were so many times that I wish life was simple. Like, my life is fairly simple, right? I don't think about okay, I think about the wrong things all the time, but I don't think about serious things like politics. But there are times when I wish I could just sleep half the day. Or heck, I wish I could like sleep for 24 hours and, you know, stockpile that rest for later use. Because I take such bad care of myself. But the idea of being able to just like sit in a hot bath for half the day, not having to worry about anything, and you just, you know, you just stuff yourself. You stuff yourself sitting in a nice bath for half the day, and then just like lie down and pass out. I don't need a warm blanket right now because it's too darn hot, but you know, this was a character who was traveling around malnourished, didn't have shelter over her head, so of course she wants a warm blanket. And in the winter, so would I. Yeah, streaming 4 to 6 hours, or, well, 4 to 5, you said. 4 to 5 is a good amount, I think. You're starting solo. What are you streaming anyway? Sea of Thieves? Off the top of my head, that's, well, okay, I guess I'm thinking in terms of co-op. You played Dead by Daylight, and that's a game that technically you have co-op on. Not my kind of thing, but I should try sometime. And I got a friend who encouraged us to pick it up when it was free to grab on Epic Games. So I got it, but I haven't tried it yet. He thinks it could be fun. It doesn't look like my kind of game. I should. If for no other reason, then... Well, okay. I can think of two big reasons off the top of my head. One, I've popped in on a few different streamers who play Dead by Daylight. Honestly, I haven't followed anyone for Dead by Daylight. But occasionally when someone's like, you should follow this person, I'm like, okay. And then I follow them, and then I feel bad about not watching them as much. And there's like too many people to pay attention to. Like, for example, if you want to be part of an established VTuber group, it would make sense to learn about everyone in the group, right? What if they have too dang many members? It becomes kind of hard. Especially with my attention span, especially with my memory. But one of the reasons is, well, so I could stream with you, so I could hang out with you more. We've talked quite a few times. Your stream, my stream, someone else's stream. So it'd be nice to play together. Another reason, though, would be to better appreciate this game, so that when I pop into one of those Dead by Daylight streams, I actually have an idea of what's going on. Beyond just, oh look, they got put on the hook again. They don't have to struggle out of it this time. Oh, they have to struggle out of it this time. Oh, is that a monster's baby that jumped on their back? Kind of amused that they added Albert Wesker of all characters as a horror villain, though. He's the dude with like slicked back hair and sunglasses, in a black long coat. He's supposed to look badass, and they decided to make him a horror villain. Yep, I will have to join your Discord. Full disclosure, I probably won't use it for much other than voice chat. There have been people who invite me to join their Discord, and I kind of... How should I say this? Gaffed it off? There's too many Discords. My own is pathetic. There have been people that joined... Okay, so there was one guy who joined right after I made that hunt video. I'm pretty sure he joined because of that. And I'm like, hi, how'd you find your way here? And since one of my friends was like... so one of my friends was like, don't you have your Discord link on your stream? I'm like, yes, I do. And maybe the other guy thought that I was talking to my friend and not to him. Because when the guy answered, he just said hello. I'm like, didn't answer my question, but okay, whatever. And I left it there for some days, and I didn't really address him directly. And then at some point, I realized he was gone from my server. And I was sad. You're on in like 10, huh? Wait, hang on. You're in like 10. Oh, you're in like 10 Discords, and you talk in 4. I see. First phase, no struggle. Second phase, you struggle. I'm assuming you're talking about Dead by Daylight, considering when that message popped up earlier, and I was busy going with my little random 2 raid. What am I talking about? This has been an hour of 2 raids. Is the music getting too loud? I mean, it's playing like all boss music. It's quieting down now because it's going to the second phase of that boss fight. They have a different song. They have 2 songs for every boss fight. Phase 2, it's great. I love it. I love it. The only problem is that the songs, like, they're all good songs, but they feel kind of samey as opposed to Hollow Knight, where there's some songs that are really distinct. You hear a song, you're like, this is the Mantis Lord theme. Yes, go stream. Don't be late on account of me. Little old me, I'll be here. I'll be here for a long time. By here, I mean both, like, I'll be around, I'll be streaming. And I guess I'll be here in this stream for a little while longer. But yeah, seriously, go stream. I'll meet you there soon enough. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. As you know, I love talking. It's part of the reason why I started streaming in the first place. Ah, the Ender Lilies reveal that I'm going to make. I wonder how much I should say in the topic because no one. I mean, okay, not everyone has played Hollow Knight, and more importantly, not everyone likes Hollow Knight, despite how good of a game it is. But the songs in that game are really distinct from each other. Well, some of them are really distinct. I guess some of them are a bit samey, but as much as I love Millie songs, this soundtrack, most of it sounds pretty samey. Like, yes, they're different songs. You can tell they're different songs, but they're similar enough in feel. You don't often think stuff like this character is particularly tragic. This one's just violent, and I don't want to deal with them. Or this place is full of poison. Like, you don't have songs that make you specifically think stuff like that. My favorite song is probably Harmonious, which is the song that plays when you're traveling around the ruined town, the ruined village, hamlet, whatever you want to call it. You see some busted buildings, a lot of blighted running around. But I do enjoy that song the most. In fact, I think I used that song for my my status update video on my YouTube channel. Man, I said some stuff in my initial intro like, I'm gonna have some stuff on this YouTube channel that you won't see on my stream. Stuff that I practice 100 times and still not get right. Well, some of those things have to do with music, and still haven't done anything. Not necessarily singing, but still. A lot of projects I never got around to. It almost feels like failed promises, you know? Empty promises. So much effort. There's a long road in front of me before I could become anything remotely big as a streamer. Heck, I still got a long road in front of me before I could become an affiliate. Not quite sure how everyone makes it look so easy. Probably because they have their own friends who hang out regularly in chat. And honestly, I had my chance. There was someone who would show up every single stream. And even with his help, couldn't get enough attention. I've been advised to collab with more people, to constantly have TTV on in my name as I play online. I took it off my name because if you're not streaming and you have TTV in your name, people will occasionally show up to like make a comment or see stuff from your perspective briefly. And if you're not online, it feels like a disappointment. Like, yeah, some people they'll mock you for having TTV in your name, and maybe that's partially why I was resistant to putting in my own name. But other times, people just feel disappointed. They're like, TTV, okay, we get to see this guy's point of view, we get to see how we died, we get to talk with this guy, maybe he's pretty cool. And then go to your channel, and you're offline. I was thinking about doing something kind of the opposite of what Emrex does. He puts TTV and then live in his name, and every time he plays, he's live. Partially because I haven't been feeling well recently, and partially because I feel like I have to talk a lot more when I'm streaming. Even though I'm playing a game where I'm quiet a lot of the time, I still force myself to talk more. Although, even in my own time, I talk quite a bit. But I talk more on stream. So because I didn't want to spend that extra energy, I would take the TTV off. I was thinking about putting something like TTV and then parentheses offline. But that would feel a little weird because if they can see me in a game hunt, that means I'm online. I'm just not streaming at the time. I couldn't figure out a way to phrase that. Try to say off stream? I don't know. Feels a little wordy. Especially because Phantasma Knight _TTV is already long enough that you see the name scrolling across because I can't fit the whole thing in the little space that you start off with. Kind of weird that I don't have to run off just yet. That was a lot of coffee I drank, and I know coffee affects my ability to, shall we say, hold liquids. Maybe that would change after this glass of water because I'm done with the coffee. There's still like tiny bits of coffee grounds left in there. Speaking of which, I don't get what's with the coffee maker at work. Now, I don't use a coffee maker much. But this thing, I put the filter in, I put the bag, I rip open a bag of coffee grounds and pour it in. Regardless of whether I make a little mound in the middle or, as I did today, kind of spread it out kind of evenly, there's always coffee grounds on the outside of the filter. I can't quite figure out why. Some of it gets into the coffee because of that. Actually, I think I know why. It's because the water that fills up in that portion of the coffee maker, the part that runs through the grounds and then through the filter and then comes out into the coffee dispenser that I put underneath. The water goes too high. It goes above where the filter is, and then the grounds floating around the water gets on the outside of it, and there's nothing I could do about it. I could put in more filters, but I decided to look up and found that that generally makes it over-extracted and makes it more bitter than it has to be. And I already find regular coffee bitter enough. I don't need to go out my way to make it even more bitter. I used 2 filters before, and that wasn't good enough. Because what happens is when you stagger them, it's like a Venn diagram. Yes, you cover the left and right side, but the up and down sides, how do I say this? The fore and back sides, they're still exposed, so coffee grounds will still get out. So in order to keep doing that, I would use at least 3 filters, but considering what I read about over-extracted coffee, I'm not going to. Best I could do is rinse out that cup thing before putting in a new filter and some more coffee grounds, and hopefully that will mitigate the amount of coffee that gets, or the amount of grounds that gets into the coffee proper. Excuse me again. Jeez, loud burps. It might be interesting, but I don't want to subject anyone who might be stopping by to that. So, when I can, I try to mute myself before making loud, shall we say, inelegant noises like that. Undignified noises like that. Oh, hey, I'm just glancing over real fast. Okay, I've been glancing over again to Lilies a lot, because the only thing I have to stare at on my main monitor is my own face. And chat, but there's no one in chat right now. But anyway, I looked over, and there was like these sea urchin enemies and under Lilies. You have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm not going to put it on screen either. There was this one thing that I used to take them out, because they seem resistant to most damage, but there's something that can seem to partially ignore its shell. I don't get exactly how or why, but it breaks through them pretty easily. Which is great, because those sea urchin things hurt so bad when you bump into them. I'm looking at the users list, some familiar names, and I always wonder how many of these are bots. Some of these names have been around for a while, but some of them are fairly recent. You never quite know who's a bot. My avatar froze for a moment because, of course, I moved out of range of the camera, just like squinting so close to the screen. I think a lot of my friends, okay, I mean, I know a lot of my friends wear glasses, but sometimes I look at my group of friends and everyone in the group either wears glasses, supposed to wear glasses, has contact lenses in. Actually, I'm probably the only one who's supposed to wear glasses who doesn't. Although, I do know 1 or 2 people who got corrective surgery for that. I still drive without glasses, and if I'm on the range, I'd be more worried about my trembling hands than my eyesight, even though stuff from 500 meters away is pretty darn tiny. But even so, I should be wearing glasses. I know I lean too close to the screen a lot of times, and this stream I've noticed myself doing it a few times. Since I actually have my OBS on my main monitor, and actually maximize, I could see it very obviously when my avatar snaps back to its default position, only showing the mouth moving because, well, it's detecting the sound, but can't actually see my face. I wonder how I'm going to improve this avatar later on. Can't do anything with clothes, which is why I bought an outfit. I did modify the shoes a little bit, so I have never shown my character's feet or legs. Heck, I haven't shown anything below, like, midriff on stream. The arms are skinnier than I'd like. Basically, there's like a skin-tight shirt on underneath it, and I can't give my avatar a muscular physique, and I'm not quite sure why. It's kind of unfortunate. You would make it look like your character has a muscular physique, but that'd be like wearing a bodysuit, which might not match the skin color that I've set for my character's face. Now, this outfit, I'm pretty sure, was primarily catered towards female characters. For example, it came with high heels. So what I did was I tried to modify some stuff. Turns out that the different shoes templates aren't all the same. It's not just like they added a little something extra on the heels either. Like, even the orientation is different. But anyway, I did my best to copy over like the coloring and maybe a little bit of pattern onto a different template. And then I had to color in like I use regular shoes, but I color in then the shoelaces, so it looks like they're just like slip-on shoes or boots or something like that. Because the shoelaces seem a little out of place for this kind of outfit. You can still see them if you view it from an angle, but straight on, it looks like it's all black shoes, like you can't really see the shoelaces. Also, I decided to give my characters pants and turn the settings so that they're as smooth, as unwrinkled as possible, and as thin as possible. It's still noticeably thicker than the arms. Like, yes, your legs are supposed to be thicker than your arms, but the arms are so skinny. Actually, look closely at the arms. There's some lines on it, and I tried to copy that pattern over to the pants template I use as well. Although it might just look like a line straight down the middle on both legs. And if you look at the side legs, then there's a bit more of a pattern, more like, how do I say, like zigzagging lines? Not zigzagging, but like if you look at my current outfit, there would be like sharper angles, like some certain points. You know, like 9-degree angles, or maybe not 9 degrees, more like 100-degree angles. More stuff like that. So, all in all, I think I did decent modification. The problem is I hear that if you go on, what's it called, VR chat, that people can copy your avatar. I haven't really looked into the privacy settings, but I don't even have a VR set. So if I go in, I'll just be going at my default, sit right there, look, and maybe my character's mouth moves, but I can't really do much. It's not a full-on VR experience. And I don't really mind people like copying my avatar itself, because the avatar itself is pretty simple, like the face, the hair, just slap together some basic things. It's the fact that I paid for these clothes, and I feel really bad for the person. It's one of those sites where you could like make your own stuff, upload it, charge money, and people would actually pay for it. And yeah, I feel kind of bad cheating people out of it. Or cheating the original work, the original artists out of their intellectual property. Especially because if they copy off me, other people can copy off them, etc, etc, etc. Yes, I modified, I added pants. Yes, I modified the shoes. But still, this is, by and large, their work. Unfortunately, I think they're also Japanese speakers, and I mean, speaking Japanese isn't the problem. It's the implication that they might not speak English. Kind of want to thank them. It is just a business transaction. But I do like this outfit a lot. I like some of their other works too, but this one seemed to fit the most. I think there was another one I was thinking about considering though. That was kind of a vaguely cowboyish like outfit, which would fit for Hunt, I think. But in the end, I didn't like it overall as much as this one. I do like this outfit. And one of my buddies did say that the avatar has grown on him, which is good. Because even though this was supposed to be a temporary, like, stand-in kind of thing, it's become my avatar now. And a couple of people told me they liked it too. Avatars like these probably take a little bit to get used to though. I remember Iris of Hololive, when she first debuted, I wasn't too fond of the design, and I felt it stood out from the other talents. Even now, when I see her thumbnails, usually she's drawn in a more cutesy style than what her avatar actually looks like. I bet if you brought a stranger who didn't know anything about VTubers in, they would probably find her avatar a bit more jarring than the cutesy anime styles, because anime has become pretty mainstream. But me, at this point, I'm used to it. I'm fond of her, both her appearance and her personality. Now, sometimes people jokingly call her Yabairis. Yabai meaning like, if something's Yabai, it's bad. Basically, it's when she's... Okay, I guess I have to explain another term. There's another term called Seiso, which basically just means pure. You know, as in like a pure-hearted idol. That people would be saying stuff like Yabai or not say so or unsay so or say sant, as in, you know, like do and don't. They added an N apostrophe T to the end of say so. When idols do stuff like swear or more commonly talk about lewd stuff or intentionally or not make a lewd joke. And I guess I haven't seen too much recently, maybe I haven't been watching enough, but there are times I feel like she strategically accidentally drops a not say so comment. Man, I have been trying to learn a little bit of Japanese on Duolingo, but I can't get the accent right at all. I'm probably better off than some of my friends. But say so is probably close enough. Yabai sounds wrong even to my ears. And if it sounds wrong to my ears, it definitely sounds wrong to a native speaker's ears. I don't know enough either. I was hoping I'd be able to get enough main words that you can just string together, not proper sentences, but like understandable sentences. Like, okay, random example off the top of my head. Like in Hunt Showdown or something like that, you could say stuff like, tagged, like, attack that one, or, like, I tagged the guy on the roof. Now, if you only know stray words, you might not know things like tagged, you'd be like, what is that? Maybe it's some playground game you heard of. But, you didn't reach out and touch anyone, so why would it be called tagging? You might not know what roof means. You might not know what that guy means. Like, might know words for, like, man or person, but you might not know what guy means. And, of course, you might not have the right grammar. At the very least, you can say, he shoot me, and people will have a rough idea of what you're talking about. They'll be like, are they shooting at you, or did they hit you? And, the person might respond with, hit me, or something like that. It's still kind of rough to understand, but I'm not even at that level yet. Not even close. Duolingo, I barely spend a few minutes on it each day. I don't even know if I spend that much. My brother gave me some of his old textbooks from his university years, which was quite a while back, but I haven't really cracked those open. They're probably gathering dust right now. Japanese would be nice to know. There's probably some other languages I should be learning first, like, some of the ones that gave me my baseline for non-English accents. Non-English accents. Talking as if I can even fake an accent at all. But, I don't think my knowledge in those languages is going to increase. They were improved somewhat when I was younger. And there were some situations that would probably make my dear brother a little more awkward than me, simply because, well, one, I'm a bit of a chatterbox, and two, because I have a greater grasp of some of those unfamiliar languages. So, some more familiarity with the unfamiliar. Now, that's the thing about... Right, note to self, no point hiding too much about yourself. If you're not popular, you don't have to worry about getting stalked or anything like that. And it's not like you're saying your name either, which is something that slipped out a couple times on stream. The thing about growing up, like, being part of one culture, being raised in another... well, okay, the language barrier kind of sums it up, but there might be some differences in cultural values as well. Stuff that you might consider... like, I don't know, stuff that others in your family might consider immoral, and you're like, there's nothing wrong with that. Stuff that you just like don't understand, thought processes that seem alien to you. It's probably some of the reason why conflicts have broken out in the past. Wars. They're not like us. They don't think like us. They must be barbarians. They must be sinners. But for family stuff, it basically sums up as... Well, I mean, you basically sum up as, I don't understand them. Whether that's literally with languages, or with those values I mentioned. Languages is rough, though. And oftentimes you have to make an effort to improve. I guess you might improve naturally from living in a place long enough, but even then, there's some people who would live in America for decades, and their English still has a heavy accent, their grammar's still a little off sometimes. And I know my English has some stuff that's improper, but it doesn't sound wrong to me. Well, partially because it's me, but partially because it's American enough slang. And then there are other times when people say stuff, and I'm not sure if I should correct them. Because I think I'm like, is it actually improper English? Or is it simply less casual English? When it comes to being in a family that has different languages, though, the problem isn't simply is it improper, but basically, what the F are the right words to say this? I can't say this in a way that makes any sense at all, and I try my best to use the closest approximate words, they'll laugh at me. Or sometimes they don't laugh, but they go, huh? Or they'll be like, no, it's not like this, it's like that. And you're like, I know it's not like this, but you don't speak English and I don't speak whatever. So how do I explain to you what exactly it is I'm trying to say when I can't say? I can't say what I'm trying to say. Say what you mean. It's like, I know what I mean. I don't know how to say. And you have to, yeah. In order to say what you mean, you have to be able to say it. I mean what I say, but I literally don't know how to say what I mean. Uh, well, even when you speak the same language, you know, say what you mean what you say. It's not as easy as it sounds. I think I'm particularly poor at lying compared to a lot of people. There's I just don't have enough practice with it, but more than that, there's also times when I find myself as if there's like some, I don't know, some mental condition on me, as if there's some kind of I know we're going to fancy territory, but some kind of enchantment on me that prevents me from directly lying. So try to find ways to warm out of it. And eventually I realize it's easier to just straight up lie, especially when it's a small lie. For example, if you're wondering why there's funny gas in the music, that's because it's on a really creepy part of the game. So yes, those gas are part of the game music. But okay, so back to lying and trying to evade stuff. Like, I would prefer to not lie, and yes, it's still deception if you try to find ways to word stuff differently. You're trying to imply things. Or, trying to get away with stuff by implying something but not actually outright saying anything, therefore you haven't technically lied. But it's awkward because, let's say... Um, okay, so this is just an example, but let's say that you're talking about a friend of yours, and let's say your friend is male and your friend has a boyfriend. And you're talking to folks that you're not quite... You're just making small talk, and you have a big mouth, so you're going to keep on talking. But let's say that you're not certain if this person has certain feels about gay relationships. So instead of saying my friend's boyfriend, or instead of saying my friend's girlfriend, just a straight up lie, you say something like my friend's significant other. And then you got a question about it. They're like, significant other? Did they... Are they... Well, honestly, like gay would probably be like the closest. That would probably be the most obvious answer. More likely, you would be trying to avoid something like my friends. I actually don't know what to call it if they didn't identify as boy or girl. Uh, my friend's non-binary life partner who's not quite married to them yet. I wouldn't even know how to say that. In which case, think I would say significant other, and the natural conclusion, I guess, would be their boyfriend. I said their. I'm trying to use a gender-neutral term when we've already established it's his. Funny part of English there. We don't have a pronoun that... We don't really have a gender-neutral pronoun. Like, yes, there's it, but you generally don't use it to refer to a person. That's generally considered a tiny bit offensive, I prefer there because it's the best I've got. Although I've heard other people use terms like zero or something like that, and that I'm not used to. It will probably throw people for a loop, and especially if it's mostly associated with the non-binary community, then you would think you're talking about someone who doesn't identify being male or female when you're just trying to be gender neutral about it. So I stick to there. I also once had a professor who says that he'll allow there in use in the essays you submit to him because it feels like it's colloquial enough that it's going to become a regular part of English. It's widespread enough that it will become English, and there's no point forcing people to say his or her every single time. He or she did not do his or her homework because he or she didn't know about the assignments because his or her friend never mentioned it. Stuff like that. And you can avoid some of that by just switching to, well, I mean, it's not really a... Yeah, you can avoid it by switching it there, and it flows more smoothly as well. Might be a slash on paper, and he/she might be barely any longer than they, but it's just easier to say they. And why shouldn't we use they? We use the word you, don't we? You used to be plural. Thou is singular, use plural. Thou art a fool. You are all fools. I love you guys, you know that, right? But yeah, I mean, we do that. Why not do the same thing with they, right? He is not someone I would want to get too close to. They are not someone I'd want to know. I'd want to get to know, I suppose. No, I suppose so that the first sentence still technically makes sense. They are not someone I want to know. Want to know, want to get to know, probably means the same thing. But like, they're not someone I want to know. It feels a little off to me. That's an example of what I was saying earlier. They are not someone I want to know. It feels a little off, but is it improper? Or is it simply less casual than they're not someone I'd want to know? And now I'm babbling about the same words over and over and over again. Sometimes I wonder if I use words right. I remember I briefly got made fun of because I would say, let's see, toot a flute. Tooting their own flute. I thought you toot flutes. No, you toot a horn. Tooting their own horn. I don't know what's called for playing a flute. But like, judging from the sound they make, you know, a wind instrument, like I don't know what exactly a horn is considered. I don't think it's technically considered a wind instrument. But toot is more the sound I expect of a flute or a recorder. Not a horn. I'd say, I don't know, I'd say like blared their horn. I don't think I'd make a proper horn noise. That's almost more like a silly alarm than anything. Strange noises. I wonder if I should do more of those on stream. I do them sometimes when I'm reacting to stuff. Some of them come out real childish, and I can never tell how people actually think about those noises I make. Especially if they don't respond, but sometimes they will giggle and like, are they just brushing it off? Or do they actually find it funny? Do they actually find it amusing? And I don't know. Sometimes when, like even when I'm at work, if I'm like shrugging about something, well, it depends on who I'm talking to, of course. If I'm talking to the boss and he's like, hey, do you know what happened to so-and-so? I'm not going to be like, ah. But that's a sound I make often. You know, I'll give a big old shrug. I don't know what kind of expression I'm making, and then I would make that sound. It sounds a bit like a Minecraft villager. I'm pretty sure I made Minecraft villager noises during my stream before. Okay, no, that wasn't quite accurate, but something like that, you know, similar. It's hard for me to replicate the same the same strange sounds that I sometimes make. Try to get it completely accurate, or like the tone that I'm using for characters. I complain about that in every game where I try to voice a character or try to have multiple character voices. I don't know how to do voices. They're all me. They're all obviously me. But then I can't even be consistent. And doing girls' voices is impossible. I need to find a voice changer or something like that. Not because I'm planning to go the Babu Nico route and go with a girl avatar and have a high-pitched voice, but because when I'm reading stories, especially stories that aren't voiced but have a lot of voiced lines, I could read those and make them sound a bit more feminine. Because for now, all I do is make my voice just a little bit higher, a little bit softer, and pretend that this is what women sound like. And also maybe give them a little bit of attitude. Stop that, Windows Defender. Oh, you didn't find any threats? That's good. I hope that means that there are no threats and not simply that there are threats that you haven't found. But yeah, making voices is difficult. I can't be consistent, and sometimes I can't get it accurate. And sometimes, if there already is a voice, I can't make my voice sound like theirs. So, if half their lines are voiced and the other half aren't, it feels unfaithful at best. Plus, you know, doing deep voices like that really hurt my throat, and I can't keep up for long without coughing. And I definitely feel pain. Imagine keeping this up for an entire hour. Some people can, I cannot. So yeah, there's stuff like that. And I do have a few different voices, but do they work for the characters? A voice like this would not work for a serious setting. Although I think that voice I just used has been referred to as my Stewie Griffin voice. And I used it for Mark Immortel from Pathologic 2. That game is great, by the way. Yes, it probably dragged on a little bit when I was playing it. Yes, I definitely missed some stuff. And towards the end, I felt like I was just running on the same errands over and over, and I felt like I missed something crucial. 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 Sorry, I'm still doing sounds. To do a proper accent, you have to get certain verbal tics right. Like if you always kind of extend the R in the words like crucial, then that could be something of an accent or a dialect. I'm not gonna try and do more words with R sounds in them though. But yeah, Pathologic 2. Excellent game, very bizarre game, one of the strangest I've ever seen. One of the most unnerving games. And the thing I love about that game is it's not just jump scares. In fact, I don't remember, do they even have any jump scares? It's an unnerving game. It's enough to be called actual horror. But everyone should play it. Well, every gamer should play it. If you never played a game in your life, don't start with Pathologic 2. That's just gonna turn you off from video games altogether. Game is forgiving in some ways and brutally, violently unforgiving in others. Maybe not violently, mercilessly. Merciless, brutal, ruthless. Merciful, merciless. There's roofless. Is there a roofful? Not that I'm aware of. Some English words have fallen out of disuse. Fallen out of use. They've fallen into disuse. And there are some that I'm not sure if they ever had analogies for the first place. Like, for example, you can say you increase something, you decrease something. What's the opposite of reducing something? Enlarging it? But if you're reducing a number, does enlarging even work in that context? It doesn't feel right. It feels like you have to go with increasing there. One of my rule sets, I was trying to stick with consistent terminology, like increase by 5, decrease by 5, reduce to 5. So I'd use decrease if I'm like moving in an increment. I use reduce if I'm like setting it to a value lower than originally was. But I didn't have an equivalent for increasing it. So it would always be increase by 5 or increase to 5. It's never, I don't know, enlarge to 5. Like that just sounds wrong. It feels wrong. And as English is my first language, oftentimes it's not logic that drives me, but how something feels when I hear it. If something is enlarged to 5, that feels wrong, and therefore I can't go with that method. I've thought sometimes about whether I'm more of a intuitive type or a logical type. I don't know if those are the right words. Thinking versus feeling. Obviously, everyone's a little bit of both, and I can't figure out which way I lean more in. I probably lean more on the intuitive side. Yes, there are some times I argue that this logically doesn't make sense, but some of my logical arguments are motivated by feeling. Why am I arguing that this guy doesn't make sense? Because he's going out of his way to be cruel. That's why I'm arguing the point. If they were going out of their way to be nice, I wouldn't argue it. Would it be illogical? It still might be illogical. Why would you give up your fortune to make someone's life a little better? Well, I guess because you're a good person, but, you know, I wouldn't argue that. Hey Trisket, welcome. I didn't feel like playing anything today, so I put on some Ender Lilies music and I've been talking to myself for a while. Holy crap, I actually almost made 2 hours. I was like, why is this Ender Lilies OST playing the credits song? I partially picked this because there weren't very many vocals, but now you can hear someone singing in English. Speaking of which, I believe Millie is the name of the band, not the singer, but it's a female singer, and I love her voice. I see. I'm assuming you're talking about Hunt. I think I'm on track to completing the event within the top 10, but I haven't gotten my game for the day. My motivation to play isn't as high today, partially because I was feeling kind of crappy yesterday, and some had bled over to today that I haven't been playing. But I also hit my 5 wins in a row for the... yes, I hit my 5 wins in a row. So I feel less pressure to do the whole, get my win for today thing. I feel like I could take a break and then tomorrow and get back to it. I might play later tonight, who knows. You wipe... Oh. So clarify for me, when you say you wiped their games, does that mean like you wiped the server or you got wiped? Total party kill, hey? Server wipe. Excellent. Good job. Good job. On your way to being 4 stars? You might find some people violently knocking you back down. I was playing with Excellence the other day. It was me, Medoro, and Excellence, and I was doing so poorly, and Excellence was just like killing everyone. The most I accomplished was reviving him once, and he got back to slaughtering. Oh boy. On a side note, it seems like Sorties was telling me about how he's going to be playing more. Yeah, yeah. Sortie was telling me about how he was thinking about going back to rifles. He used so once upon a time he started with rifles, then he switched to shotgun, then to the bomb lance, just getting closer and closer range. It seems like he had a bad experience with running across an open field, which is something I would do. But yeah, because of that and the fact that my brother tends to run rifles. Okay, well the pattern with my brother is he seems to run long-range rifles in addition to a hunting bow. And I cannot figure out the projectile drop, but the guy is pretty good with it. Obviously, he's not 6-star level. He plays the least hunt of most people I know. Like, I know Levix plays less, but that guy's busy all the time, and he plays Valorant a lot more anyway. You only take a bomb lance if you have Quartermaster, huh? That's fair, that's fair. Bomb lance is a specialist weapon, but the thing is it specializes in 2 very different areas. The melee is amazing. It's got wide sweep, good range, a light attack is enough to kill a hunter, and if you use light attacks, you have 9.5 hits. Yes, I counted. You have a bit more than 9 swings worth. The heavy attacks, I think, can one-shot a regular armor. I don't think I cause a tuna armor, though. Maybe it can. Fairly good for bosses if you have stamina shot. But if you're fighting a boss, other than the assassin, might as well go for those bombs and take it out in, like, 3 hits if you wait for the frenzy to wear off between each one. Maybe you even get it in 2, I'm not quite sure. Deadeye medium weapon. I'm thinking about it, and I don't believe you actually have too many choices for Deadeye medium weapons. It's mostly the Nagant Precision... Nagant Precision well, okay, they just call it the Nagant Deadeye. Or they call it the Nagant M1895 Deadeye, I think. But it's the Nagant Precision Deadeye. There's no non-precision version of the Deadeye. Anyway, I'm going to stop complaining about that. So there's the Nagant Deadeye, there's the Winfield Vando Deadeye, and I think those might be the only 2 medium weapons that need Deadeye Scopesmith. If we're just talking Deadeye weapons in general, you also have the... drawing a blank. You have the Springfield Compact Deadeye, but since it's a single shot, there's no point in getting Deadeye Scopesmith. Let's see. What other Deadeye weapons are there? Like, I think that's it for the 2 slots. If we include 3 slots, there's the Vetterli Deadeye, the Martini Henry Deadeye. Both the Vetterli and Martini Henry have Deadeye and Marksman variants, so that's some nice versatility on the scopes. The Berthier also has a Deadeye scope, and that's probably why I prefer it over the Mosin and the Lebel, which for most intents and purposes I use pretty much the same. And then finally we have the Officer Carbine, which is interesting among the Deadeye weapons because you don't need Deadeye Scopesmith for it. Turns out you only need Deadeye Scopesmith for stuff that is single action, lever action, or bolt action. If your character doesn't have to do something extra to raid the next round, if it's a double action revolver that raids the next round simply by you pulling the trigger, you don't need the Deadeye Scopesmith trait. That said, it's a 3-slot weapon, and you have to go through a lot to unlock it. You start off with the regular officer, and you have to, I believe you have to unlock the officer brawler along with 2 ammo types, which I believe are poison and high velocity. Or maybe you unlock high velocity after the carbine? I'm not quite sure. Still, it feels like it takes a while. And then after you unlock the Officer Carbine, of course, you have to unlock the Officer Carbine Deadeye, also known as the OCD. How's it that I decided to talk to myself for 2 hours and then I'll go back to lecturing about hunt? And yet I can't crank out a second hunt guide video? Really? Really, me? What are you doing? You're gonna lecture everyone who already knows how to play this game about hunt. I see some familiar names there in the viewer list. I'm assuming that these are just people hanging out, and I'm assuming some of them are bots. But I'm lecturing people on Hunt. Why? You already know this. Sure, you might not remember all of the Deadeye weapons off the top of your head. You might not be able to tell me that a Bornheim is $201 Hunt dollars, and a Bomb Lance is $199 Hunt dollars, and that the regeneration shots are $110 Hunt dollars, and that a Dolch is $750. But you don't need to know all that stuff off the top of your head. All you have to know is whether or not a weapon is cheap or expensive, whether you have access to it or not, and even then you could check out your inventory. It's like, do I have access to this? Let's check. Pretty quick. Oh, since we're on the topic of hunt tips, and oh god, I went through all my music. Is there one more song I could put on? Or should I just end it here? Anyway, the last hunt tip. Somebody, I forgot who, found out for me, it was probably Amerix, that if you type in own, like, what weapons you have owned, if you type in own, OWN, in the search bar, it will populate with all the weapons you have. So freaking helpful. Turns out that you can't type in contraband, find out what contraband weapons you have, which is unfortunate. But yeah, just type in own and it filters out everything. Very useful if you hit Bloodline rank 100 and have been diligently working on unlocking all the things. Should we call it quits? Not quite 2 hours, and I have talked about wanting to go for longer streams these days, but I mean, come on, it's already a 2 hour talking stream. Who talks for this long anyway? Who talks to themselves for this long anyway? What arrogance! What sheer lunacy! Do you ever talk to the voices in your head and you know what? If I'm gonna keep blabbing on, I'm gonna find some more music. What do I have here? Crypt the Necrodancer? Heck yeah, let's go with that. Oh shoot, it starts somewhere in the middle. Let's start at the beginning. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, being insane. Now, I'm not going to I probably have claimed to be crazy or insane or psychotic or something on stream, and I'll leave it up to you to decide how serious I am about it. But do you ever argue with the voices in your own head? Like, there's a voice that tells you that you're crap, everything you do is crap, you have no talent, and you should give up. You should give up on all things. And then the rest of you is just like, okay, maybe not the rest of you, but another portion of you is like, screw you, man. Why you gotta be so depressing? Why you gotta be such a downer, man? Have some faith. They'd be like, faith? That's unscientific. How could you believe in something you can't prove? If you can't prove you have skill, then for all purposes and intents, you have no skill. My brain is arguing with me about how pessimistic it could be. Most parts of me are pretty pessimistic, but I think there's a part of me that's still optimistic, still hopeful. When I see a game in a long-running series that I tried a little bit of and didn't like, I might give it another try, thinking, what if this is the one that gets me interested? What if I try another Pretty Cure series and I like this one instead of trailing off after episode 1? Yes, Pretty Cure is a series about magical girls. Yes, it's a series about little girls running around. I am way too old to be watching this kind of stuff. But it's like a distant cousin to Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. And yes, I know Power Rangers is a kids superhero show. But you know what? I think I was happier before. I was like, oh man, everyone says Power Rangers isn't cool. Well, I don't watch Power Rangers either because it's not cool. I was probably happier before that. Although Power Rangers doesn't hook me as much anymore. I guess I haven't actually watched any real Power Rangers in a long time. Last thing I saw was a couple episodes of Super Sentai, which is pretty cool, but I turned it off easily. And let's face it, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, they're like low-budget superhero shows that they crank out literally once a year. Then there was like Kamen Rider Decade. Usually these series are about like 49 to like 50-something episodes. You know, a year's worth. Yeah, usually something like 48 to like 51 episodes, I think. Something like that. Decade was like around 30 episodes, and there was a recurring joke that they blew half the budget on the first episode. So much CG, but it was also fan service because, well, Decade. It marked 10 years into the, shoot, what are the, I can't remember the eras. Let's see, it was Showa, then it became the Meiji era, right? Then the Meiji era that ended relatively quickly, and then there was the Reiwa era, I think. I think that's how it goes. Apparently, they're based on, I'm not sure it's the rule, well, rule and or life, I guess, of the Japanese emperor, which I know squat about. Don't know anything about the emperor there. Presumably it's a male, but you never know. Don't know how old he is. Don't know what kind of policies he's done. I don't know anything about policies in my own country, let alone politics in other countries. But yeah, a decade being like sort of an anniversary of sorts for them, and it might have also been like I don't know, like the 40th overall series or whatever. I don't know. Regardless, there was a lot of like fan service, but not like I don't know, like skirt flipping fan service. I mean, like I said, it's a kid superhero show that has a few too many adult themes. Excuse me, not like adult as in that kind of fan service. Adult as in you hear the villains, the invading alien force, talk about how cruel human children are, picking the wings off bugs and laughing about it. You see stuff like torture and siblings killing each other. Dark stuff, you know? Stuff that shouldn't be in a kid's show. But yeah, that's the kind of content they have. And despite that, they have flashy battles, bright suits, colorful suits. You have, especially in Decade, like the first episode showed like a whole bunch of previous writers. Some of them had mechs, some of them didn't. One had like his own dragon. Very cool. And there are a lot of common writers out there, like older than me even. They got like all the merchandise, the belts, the figurines. Actually, I had a Kamen Rider Blade figurine, and it was his king form, his final form. The one with like all the gold plating and like animal motifs carved onto various parts of his armor. Pretty cool looking little piece. Very detailed. Probably very expensive for how small it was. I don't know where it was. The balance on the thing was not great. It was hard to make it a hold at a certain position. And especially if I put it on top of my computer, things keep getting knocked over anyway. You know, how's this camera even capturing my... Okay, not expression. But how's this capturing my movements? My room is so dark right now. Go on, let's turn on the lights. Yeah, see, it snapped back into position because I moved my face out of the way. Not even because it was too dark. My room was pretty dang dark. Right now, the time on deck is 8:06. And 8:06 p.m., even in the summer, is pretty dark. It's August 23rd, so I guess this would technically be considered late summer. Sky's not pitch black like it might be at other points in the year, and still a little too hot. But it's becoming more manageable. I bet if I opened the door to my room, it'd be real nice. If I sat closer to that open window, it'd be real nice. Although, even with that netting over the window, somehow bugs are getting in. I actually don't see anything right now, but sometimes you just see bugs hanging around. I think that's one thing I hate about summer, the bugs. The mosquitoes I can barely hear, but leave behind itching bumps that are so bad I almost prefer them to hurt rather than itch. And I think in some cases I actually would prefer mild pain compared to the itch that it gives me. Like, we're talking I'll pour hot water on it to alleviate the itching. And then the flies. I don't like flies. I don't like the way they look. I don't like them buzzing around. And you ever just stare at a fly and it just sits there and just like rubs its four legs together? Like it's going, all your food will belong to us. We will make it all greasy and disgusting, and you'll find maggots swarming everywhere. I guess I should be glad that even if you see like a fly land or something like that, you're not gonna like see maggots that fast. Although who knows like when they lay their eggs? It's a pretty disgusting thing to think about. You know, maggots in video games kind of scare me. Like, Onimusha Warlords, for example. This was probably a game around, maybe, excuse me, another burp coming on. Yeah, another loud burp. So, I want to say that game was around like 2000 or so. The opening and ending cutscenes were really, really nice, especially for that era. It was re-released as a PS4 game, but neither on the PS4 game's cover nor on the Steam page do they actually mention that it was just an HD port of a PS2 game. People are gonna play and they'll be like, "Why is this game so freaking short?" It would feel like Resident Evil 2, but without like the modern upgrade. People will be like, "What's this oddly low budget game? Is this re-released by Capcom?" It's like, yes, decades ago. Anyway, opening cutscene. It was a battlefield, and you get to see your main character, Seminosuke, do some cool action scenes with a weapon he can't actually use in game. I think he steals someone's like stick or spear or something like that, and fights off multiple soldiers. But I would say that it actually starts at the very beginning. It starts with you looking at a skull with like maggots swarming in it, and what was at the time some of the highest quality CG. And then a horse hoof stomps on it as the soldiers come racing through the area and the battle breaks out and people start dying and someone takes an arrow to the throat, all that good stuff. The game was fun. It was a short game, real short. It wasn't perfect. Back then it used the old school Resident Evil style tank controls, left and right makes you turn, forward and back let you move, and backing up was pretty slow. You have to like turn all the way around before you can move. Although I think with an okay, so PS2 controllers, I'm actually not sure now. This might not apply to Onimusha 1. Onimusha 3 was also on the PS2, and I don't remember anything about Onimusha 2. But in the third game, you could just use the analog stick to run around. You don't have to do that tank controls, turn and then go first. Although I think it was still fixed camera angle, just like the old Resident Evil games. Which they kept in Resident Evil 2 and 3's remake, I believe. 2's remake for sure. 3's? I'm not quite sure. Actually, hang on. Did they have fixed camera angles? Now I'm actually not sure. I'm second guessing myself. I think they did. The fixed AI camera angle could get a little annoying sometimes. Because, like, movement was... Okay, actually, no. It wasn't that bad if the movement is relative to your character. It's in Onimusha 3 when you finally get to move the analog stick in relation to your view. It gets annoying when you run over to a certain area, the screen transitions, and as long as you keep holding on that in that direction, your character will keep going that direction. When you let go for a second and then move again, it will then reset to be relative to your new view. Something like that. Could get a little annoying. For a moment there, I thought this Crypt the Necrodancer song was going Fights in Tight Spaces style. Like, it's for a few seconds there, it sounded like one of those songs. I'm just remembering... No real point talking about it, and I was remembering a couple songs that... Oh, okay. So I was gonna say there's no point talking because I couldn't remember what songs. One of the songs I was thinking about was the ending to an old anime that I never finished called Go Sick. I don't know what the title's supposed to mean. Part of the song, like a few seconds, reminds me of one of the songs that plays in Apex. Like, actually, does Apex even have more than like 1 or 2 songs? But the music that's playing when you're preparing to drop in, when you're picking your characters, whatever. Just a couple seconds match up, but they kind of remind me of each other. Again, though, I don't know much about music. When it comes to practicing singing or something like that, it helps when I have all the lyrics in front of me, sure. But if I could figure out, I guess, music notation, it would help a little bit more, but I can't sound things out and try to figure out music notation just by ear. Thing is, though, sometimes with lyrics, there would be one syllable that gets stretched out, or stretched out and somehow formed into 2 syllables, so it's pronounced a little oddly. Sometimes there's a little gaps between words. There's this Japanese song that I like called Lemon. I keep forgetting the artist's name. I swear, some of those... So I don't think they handle words the same way, and if you write them in Romaji, Roman characters, Latin letters, they're split up as if they're actual words, like they actually have spaces. And it's not like each character, each mora is its own syllable. Well, okay, a mora is basically a syllable. But, for example, you get kanji, for example, it might be a single syllable, oftentimes you get 2 syllables to a quote word when you see Japanese written down Latin letters. Let's see, what's an example? I have no good examples, but God, my pronunciation's crap, so forgive me for this. Hiru means sunny, but you wouldn't put a space in there because you just treat it like one word. I swear, in that song in Lemon, there's a bunch of words I feel are broken up. Like you look at the lyrics and they have spaces between them as if they're actual words. And then the way that the singer sings them, it's like he combines the second syllable of a word with the first syllable of the next word. And I'm just like, I I shouldn't have to like I shouldn't care whether or not this makes sense because I don't understand it anyway. I should just revise the lyrics in a notepad file with the spaces in the appropriate place so I could figure out how to sing this. Of course, I won't get the tones right. I don't know, is it the tone, the pitch? I won't figure out the right points to breathe, but regardless, it should get me a little closer if I put the spaces in the right places. If I put little marks for myself to know when I could chance a breath. Because I can't sing all the way through. Not good with any song. I particularly notice that problem whenever I try to do any song by Calliope Mori. Why? Because she's a rapper. Now, I don't like most rap, but her rap has, I guess you can call it a bit of a pop feel to it. I don't actually know my music genres. Like, I don't know what exactly classifies as metal, for example, and what classifies as death metal, other than, you know, screaming. And I didn't even do that scream right. Sorry if there's anyone who's just like lurking and got started by those weird noises I'm making. But so her songs, I do like them, and some of them are all in English, so I don't have to try and pronounce stuff in Japanese. Again, I don't have the right accent, I don't have enough understanding. But sometimes, if I try to even sing along, even have the lyrics in front of me, so I don't just trail off as I go, what was up next? It would be difficult for me to keep up, because partially during the recordings, she could take breaths that she wouldn't, I mean, like during live singing, she might take some more obviously noticeable breaths that she doesn't have in the recordings, because the recordings would do stuff like part of a line would overlap with the next line, and obviously you can't do that if you only have one mouth, unless you could do some weird anime superpower and speak two different things at the same time, which I'm assuming most people can. Even disregarding those parts, there are times when I run out of breath and am forced to take a breath. I guess it's kind of like ads for being affiliate, right? You could either let ads roll when people first come in, or you could roll them yourself. But you have to choose when to roll them, because if you don't, they'll automatically kick in. It's kind of the same way on certain songs with the whole breathing. Either you choose when to breathe, or you'll be forced to breathe. Or I guess you could force yourself not to breathe, but then your voice just stops coming out because you don't have enough air in your lungs. Speaking of which, that was an interesting detail in a vampire anime that I saw once. I haven't seen this mentioned in any other work of fiction, but in that particular work of fiction, it turns out that when you become a vampire, and the vampire are undead in this setting, you don't need to breathe. No, you don't have to breathe to remain existing, to exist and move around. You do, however, need to suck in air before you could speak. Otherwise, you try to speak and your mouth moves and no sound comes out because there's no air in your lungs to make those sounds. I don't know how accurate that is, but considering how hard it is to sing when you have no breath in your lungs, I'm gonna guess it's pretty accurate. Okay, so I haven't reached the 2 hour 30-minute mark yet. I haven't even reached the 2 hour 15-minute mark yet, but I should probably find a way to break this off. Cut myself off from the... I can't think of the words. From the booze? I'm not drinking any booze. I ran out of coffee ages ago. Water's almost out. Time to cut myself off, go home, make sure I don't stare at that candle so long that the bartender thinks I'm gonna drink from it and moves away from me. If all I'm doing is staring at it with my painful head and gut and my ADD and just staring at it. Also, someone in my stream mentioned this. I used to think that ADD or ADHD was a more extreme form of ADD. Like, I thought ADD was attention deficit disorder and ADHD was attention attention deficit hyper disorder. That's what I thought it was. But it's actually attention deficit / hyperactivity disorder. And at some point ADD was considered obsolete, and now it all gets classified as ADHD. Regardless of it's just attention deficit or hyperactivity, they group it together into one. Presumably because they're related enough that there's no point separating them. And probably
people with ADHD show more signs of one than the other, but they all have the same condition, more or less. I don't know how that goes. I haven't looked that much into it. Does it matter if I have ADHD? Well, yes, of course it matters. Does it matter if I know the exact definition, the exact details of it? No, not really. And I almost certainly have some form of ADHD. Probably like I have some mild form of OCD, but then again, probably everyone does. If it's mild though, it might not actually be known as OCD, because the D still stands for disorder. If everyone has normal levels of compulsiveness, it wouldn't be recalled a disorder, now would it? And I guess it's really easy to feel like you're out of place. I said something to that effect last night, and my very understanding friends were like, I think everyone goes through that. With your head, you should understand it. But with your heart, it's so easy to say stuff like, you don't understand me, you don't know what I'm going through, don't say I know what it's like, because you don't. And then there would be a case like, hey, you don't know what it's like to lose a parent, and they'll be like, I lost both my parents. I watched my grandparents die in front of me. They say stuff like that, and then you just feel like crap, because guess what? They've been through worse than you. You could argue that if they were more mature, they wouldn't say that kind of stuff. But if you were more mature, you wouldn't be saying that kind of stuff in the first place. But yeah, it's so easy to feel like no one understands you, and so easy to feel like they understand you enough, but you're just a little off. And honestly, I haven't figured out what's worse. Feeling like you're a decent, like feeling like you're really off from everyone else? Or, no, okay, it's gotta be feeling like you're way off from everyone else. If everyone treats you like a psycho, that's gotta be worse than if you're a little off. But the challenge about being just a little bit off is that you feel like every time you complain, you're doing something you're not allowed to. Something that won't be forgiven. Because you got it better than all the other crazies out there. You're not that crazy. You could still pretend to be normal for a short time. You don't get to complain, and yet you still do it. So people are going to get annoyed at you. They're going to get fed up with you. At some point, they're not going to want to tolerate your BS anymore. And you're always afraid of that. And you don't want to go see a psychiatrist because there's some part of you that doesn't trust that they'll be able to help enough. There's some parts of you that's worried that they're going to judge you. And there's the unavoidable truth that some people either aren't good at their job or aren't willing to be very caring despite what their job is. So you're hoping that they're in the minority, but like, what if you run into one of them? So you don't think they'd be able to help? You feel like some of them might not even be willing to help? And you can't help but feel like in the back of your head, they'll be like, why is this guy even here? He's got nothing to complain about. Why is he complaining at all? And I think that worries some of us. Those of us who are just a little bit abnormal. And you know, maybe that's perfectly normal, being a little bit abnormal, so it's not even abnormal at all. But we can't help but feel like we're a little bit off, and that it's hard to complain about because we don't have a right to complain about it. Because people can't say, oh, you get a free pass because you're insane. They'll be like, you're just a little bit weird, which means we're allowed to dislike you. And people don't say that kind of stuff. There were certain thoughts that go around my head, but if I actually think about it, no one's actually said any of that stuff to me in a long, long time. Stuff like, if you really cared, you'd do something about that. I've mentioned my motivation problems, my inability to be consistent. But the fact is, no one has said that to me in a very, very long time, and I can't even remember who the last person who said it to me was. Other than myself, of course. But you know, lines like that just kind of stick in your head. Especially it's about stuff that causes you anxiety. So you'll be like, well, by that logic, I guess I don't care about having money, about having a comfortable life, because if I really cared, I would have done something about that. Obviously, I don't care about my flaws. Obviously, I'm proud of my flaws. Otherwise, I would have done something about that. Again, this is stuff that's easy to think, despite the fact, or regardless of whether or not someone has complained about it recently. And when people do complain about it, you start feeling self-conscious. And they don't complain about it, you end up getting complacent and then ticking someone off. Ooh, this is not a good wind-down topic because it's going to depressive, self-deprecating, stewing in your own emotions territory. Stuff ain't ever good. Okay, there's some good to it. You get to let it all out. And you have friends who listen to you, then all the better. You let off enough steam, maybe you won't boil over quite as quickly. Right? But sometimes someone cranks up the heat too much, intentionally or not, and then you start boiling over anyway. And then you're like, why am I like this? Why? Uh, let's see. Do I have any final topics? Something a little happier. A little happier. Hmm. I don't have much, so I'm just going to go off on a complete random tangent and make that the last topic. So, I mentioned Brandon Sanderson on the stream a couple times. I've been reading his books, or rather listening to the graphic audio versions of some of his books, and those are great. They have a whole cast of voice actors, they have a little bit of background music, some sound effects here and there. Speaking of which, in the second Mistborn trilogy, Mistborn Era 2, starting with Alloy of Law. Okay, so in that first book, there was a rifle being used, and I was like, what kind of rifle is this? They have revolvers in this era. But to imply that everyone's running around with like swing-out cylinder revolvers, and they never actually said that. They mention reloading, but they don't mention speed loaders. So they could be swing-out revolvers. They could be the loading gate kind, just like the Nagant or the single-action army. But they don't really say. Now, starting with the second book in that, I was gonna say trilogy, but apparently it's gonna be a quartet. I think starting with the second book, whenever the character fires a rifle, you hear the sound of them levering, like cycling in the next round, and I was like, that's a neat detail they added. There's a couple points I feel like Brandon Sanderson doesn't quite understand how loud noises work. Like, in the latest one that I listened to, The Emperor's Soul, someone kicked open like a fragile wooden door or something like that. I'm like, there are guards outside your room. How did they not hear that and come in immediately? Just smash it open, There was at least one scene where, at least to me, it seemed implied that people were not hearing gunshots from nearby, and that was a little odd. Gunshots are stupid loud. The whole thing about them deafening you, not a lie. You're supposed to wear earplugs in training. You can't afford to do that when you're out in the field because, you have to hear when, let's say, enemy comes running around the corner. So some details seem just a little off, but I mean, nobody's perfect. And for one guy creating a universe, I think he does very well. The Emperor's Soul was a good listen. So good, in fact, I almost want to read a physical copy of it. There were certain details, but unfortunately I can't remember them. And I guess I wouldn't want to spoil them either. But it was the small details that caught my attention. Some of the overarching stuff is nice too. But it was the small details that really made it a masterpiece. My brother did say that one is probably Sanderson's best one-shot. And so far, that might be my favorite one. Of course, it could just be that it's the most recent one I've listened to, and therefore the one that's freshest in my memory. And I haven't seen that much more of his stuff. Everything else I've seen/read is... everything else I've seen/listened to has all been related to the Mistborn series. I hear the Emperor's Soul takes place in the same world as Elantris, which is another standalone that I haven't read. Elantris is one of his earliest, if not his first book. And someone has recommended to me back when I was doing my haircutting job, but I never got around to reading it. First time I heard Brandon Sanderson was actually in high school. I had no idea who he was at the time, and at least among the people around me, he wasn't that big of a name. I just knew him as the guy who finished, I think the series was called The Wheel of Time, some 12-volume book series where the author had passed away and left behind some notes. So good old Sanderson decided to finish the series for him. Man is a prolific writer. Other people, when they're told to rest, don't work. When he's told to rest, he cranks out novels. He's a prolific writer, and he's a good writer, and I admire that. And I've mostly given up on being a novelist, but there's still something in the back of my head that tells me I still have to crank out one good fantasy novel at least once before I croak. Just one novel. Yet another dream to add to the pile. I still believe that being a VTuber and making this an actual job, a job that I can live off of, is still the closest thing I've had to a dream. Partially because it's the most consistent thing I've done. But if I'm going to be perfectly honest, writing a good fantasy novel comes pretty close second. And no matter how much I say I give up on it, every once in a while I find myself returning to typing just a little bit. It's not the same novel, not the same universe even, doesn't run by the same rules, and I have so many of the same habits. Like I have certain traits that I'm impose on my main characters to the point that I'm like, are they all samey? Are they all self-inserts? But at the end of the day, what it boils down to is I can't stop writing. Not completely. Can't completely give it up. And I suppose for me, someone who's worried that he doesn't have any real dreams, that's a small win. And I'll take what victories I can. Alright, thanks for listening, everyone. Whether you stopped by just to say hi, if you checked out the VODs later out of curiosity, or you've been here the whole time, I appreciate you nonetheless. I will still continue to strive to be a better streamer, even if it's just very, very slowly. But I'm gonna keep this up. Thanks for letting me talk to y'all like this, giving me something of an emotional outlet, and maybe I'll see you around. Till then, stay safe, and have a good evening. Goodbye.